Chapter 1104. Great Crisis? I don't really understand. Knight Sorrow looked at Princess Qing Yuan and asked. Your Majesty is reasonable, but some people are not. The sixth prince of the Red Emperor's country of reincarnation world is here. He has no bottom line. In order to make you compromise, he can do anything. Princess Qing Yuan said. Is there anything else that can threaten me? Knight Sorrow squinted his eyes and looked at Princess Qing Yuan. Is there nothing that can threaten you? For example, the Sky Profound World. If you don't compromise, he can let the Sky Profound World and even the 9 firmament worlds suffer. Princess Qing Yuan threw out a sentence that made Knight Sorrow dizzy. How can this be? Knight Sorrow's eyes were filled with killing intent. This method is ineffective against selfish people. You are a person of merit. Naturally, you don't want others to be implicated because of your own matters. Princess Qing Yuan said. Knight Sorrow fell into a dilemma because what Princess Qing Yuan said was true. Then why don't you do this? Knight Sorrow looked at Princess Qing Yuan. Your Majesty may be a woman, but she cultivates the way of a gentleman. Sometimes, she uses power and strength to solve problems. However, there are also some things that she disdains to do. Princess Qing Yuan said her style of doing things. It's impossible for me to compromise. Absolutely impossible. If he dares to go against the Sky Profound World, I, Knight Sorrow, will make him pay 100 times the price. Knight Sorrow stood up. But that's after the 9 firmament worlds suffered a calamity. Things can develop according to the situation. If he really wants to do this, Your Majesty can help you deal with him. The request is that you develop in the reincarnation world. If you want to develop in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, don't feel that it's difficult. Your Majesty is not taking in subordinates. You are free. Princess Qing Yuan said her request. Brat, have you ever thought about it? When you go to the Qing Emperor's dynasty, you have your own autonomy. Under the protection of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, no other top forces will have any ideas. Zhuo Tingfei said. You have a good plan. Not to mention me, you're still thinking about the Jiao Shao World Group? Knight Sorrow looked at Zhuo Tingfei angrily. Don't look at me like that. Princess, you should speak. He doesn't like me now. Zhuo Tingfei took a step back. He could tell that he had touched Knight Sorrow's bottom line. Knight Sorrow was about to bite. Knight Sorrow, don't be so agitated. Elder Zhuo didn't express it clearly. Subsidiary worlds and protector worlds are different. Subsidiary worlds have to hand over their resources and they have to be completely controlled and allocated. Protector worlds are completely a burden. The top powers are only willing to do so because some people have merit and value. Princess Qing Yuan said. Knight Sorrow didn't say anything. He was now at the crossroads of life. Maybe things aren't that bad. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow raised his head and said. Then we can wait. Your Majesty will bring them and hide here for a while. If you are in danger, we can talk again. Princess Qing Yuan knew that Knight Sorrow was struggling without confidence. Okay, if I beg you, then I will accept my fate. If I don't beg you, then go back to where you came from. I won't allow you to have any other thoughts. Knight Sorrow said. Okay, it's a deal. Princess Qing Yuan nodded. She knew that this matter was successful. She knew Qi Du's temperament too well. After that, Knight Sorrow set up a formation and wrapped most of the small lakeside building in it. He only left a pavilion alone in the lake for himself to live in. After making arrangements for Princess Qing Yuan and the rest, Knight Sorrow went to the pavilion in the lake and brewed a pot of heart-cleansing tea. He was in a dilemma now. It was really hard to make a choice. He couldn't sit by and watch the profound sky world suffer a calamity. That would be a sin. At this moment, Princess Qing Yuan and the rest who were wrapped in the formation were also talking. It's a success. I never thought that Qi Du would have such an effect. Princess Qing Yuan drank a mouthful of tea and said. This brat is too difficult to deal with. Fortunately, he still has a weakness. Otherwise, we would have to return empty-handed. Zhuo Tengfei's old face was full of wrinkles. For people who are passionate, emotions are their weakness. However, he is indeed a rare all-rounder. He is a heavenly master alchemist and weapon refiner. His formation skills are also at the heavenly master level. This illusion formation cannot be attacked or touched. Even the sovereigns are unable to detect it. Elder Zhuo, what's the situation now? Are you gloating? Princess Qing Luan looked at Elder Zhuo and said. Seeing that brat's conflicted face, this subordinate is happy. This brat is born in the year of the turtle. It's very difficult to deal with him. Now, we have caught his weakness. Zhuo Tengfei laughed. There were only a few people who could be so casual around Princess Qing Luan. Other than her family, only Elder Zhuo could be so casual. Elder Zhuo watched her grow up and even gave her pointers when she was young. Therefore, she respected Elder Zhuo very much. On QF, that's true. Without Qi Du, we really can't take him down. Princess Qing Luan nodded. When Knight Sorrow was drinking tea, Bei Xing came. She came to inform Knight Sorrow that Princess Qing Luan and the rest had disappeared. However, another group of people had appeared and had a conflict with Wuji World's realm Lord Yan Tianpa. Hearing Bei Xing's words, Knight Sorrow exerted force in his hand and the teacup in his hand directly shattered into powder. Originally, he was still hoping that Princess Qing Luan's news was false. However, Bei Xing's words proved that it was true. What's wrong? Bei Xing didn't expect Knight Sorrow to have such a reaction. Not hiding anything from Bei Xing, Knight Sorrow told her about the current situation. For the 9 Firmament World Group, you want to sacrifice yourself and compromise? Bei Xing frowned. The current situation had also exceeded her expectations. Do I have any other choice? Xian Tian Monarch, your father, Elder Xiang, Purple Firmament Monarch, 7 Rain Monarch. If they didn't recognize my worth, they would have helped me. Can I watch the 9 Firmament World Groups suffer a calamity because of me? Knight Sorrow laughed bitterly. Bei Xing was very angry, but she didn't have any good ideas. After thinking for a while, she left. She had to report these things to Big Dipper King. Big Dipper King also had to find someone to discuss. This wasn't Knight Sorrow's personal matter. The implications were too great. If a top force of the Supreme World really moved against the 9 Firmament World Group, other than the 2 worlds with realm lords, the other spatial worlds of the 9 Firmament World Group would fall. After Bei Xing left, Knight Sorrow drank tea. His heart also calmed down. Since things had come, then let nature take its course. After all, Princess Qing Luan was still someone with principles. Bei Xing went to Big Dipper Villa and told her father, Big Dipper King, about Knight Sorrow's current situation. Big Dipper King's expression changed. He brought Bei Xing to Xiantian Sky City to see Xiantian Monarch's clone. After learning about the situation, the 3 of them went to 9 Firmament City to see Purple Firmament Monarch. Hearing Bei Xing's story, Purple Firmament Monarch puffed out his cheeks and exhaled. Red Emperor's country is indeed like what Princess Qing Luan said. They are incomparably ruthless. If we find Knight Sorrow and he doesn't compromise, things will be difficult. If it's difficult, then don't do it. Are we going to let a young person protect the 9 Firmament World Group? Divine Knight Monarch walked in from outside. Chapter 1105. Senior Brother. The sovereign of Zishao bowed. Their master did not enter the king's realm. In reality, the sovereign of Shenshao was teaching on behalf of his master, so the sovereign of Zishao was especially respectful towards the sovereign of Shenshao. Greetings, Monarch Shenshao. Monarch Xian Tian and Big Dipper King bowed. ##, we can't do this. If we let Knight Sorrow do this, how can we face the world in the future? How can we face our own hearts? Divine Knight Monarch said after sitting down. Brother, don't be angry. We're just discussing. We can't resist the Red Emperor's attack. We should prepare in advance and close the teleportation portal. That way, the continent of the 9 clouds will be able to resist, but the other worlds will be in danger, said Sovereign Zi Shao. Lord Divine Night Monarch, things are not that bad. The Qing Emperor's dynasty did not offer Night Sorrow harsh conditions. Bei Xing repeated what Night Sorrow had told her. Not being enslaved, having freedom, and protecting the 9 Firmament World Group. The conditions are good, but I still can't get over it. I'll go see Night Sorrow and see what he says. If he wants to fight, then we'll fight to the end. Monarch Shen Shao said after thinking for a while. The main reason was that Bei Xing's Qing Di dynasty's conditions weren't harsh at all. Instead, they were very generous. It was very difficult for any cultivator to get such treatment in the Qing Di dynasty, it was almost impossible. Then, the group of people took the teleportation array to Seven Night City and arrived at the pavilion by the Seven Night Lake. Night Sorrow was fishing. When he saw them, Night Sorrow got up and put away his fishing rod. Then, he brewed a pot of tea. We already know what happened. The decision is up to you. If you want to fight, we will fight to the end. The Divine Night Monarch expressed his attitude directly. Thank you for your support, Master, but we're not alone. We have countless things to worry about. We can't live for ourselves. That's too selfish. We have no right to bring the countless lives of the continent of the 9 clouds to war. If we can't do it, I'll accept my fate. Night Sorrow bowed to the Divine Night Monarch and expressed his attitude. Monarch Shen Shao and the others looked glum. Monarchs and monarchs didn't care about life and death. But at that moment, if they started a war, it was hard to say whether the continent of the 9 heavens could survive or not, but many people would be injured or killed. Blue Phoenix, Divine Night. At this moment, the Blue One walked out of the 1000 Development Illusionary Formation. The 1000 Development Illusionary Formation was able to prevent detection and revert back to the original scenery, but it could not stop a monarch. Naturally, the Blue Wand could enter and exit freely. The Sovereign of Divine Night nodded at Princess Qing Wan. Greetings, Your Highness. It has been more than 100,000 years since we last met. Yes. Blue Phoenix remembers. That time, Divine Night Monarch went to the world of reincarnation to do something. After Divine Night Monarch left, Divine Night Monarch told me that Divine Night Monarch was an incredible commander in the Azure Scale Army. You wanted to leave, but Divine Night Monarch couldn't stop you. Divine Night Monarch cares about the continent of the 9 clouds too much. Princess Blue Phoenix nodded. She knew Divine Night Monarch. He used to be a commander in the Azure Scale Army under the command of the Qing Emperor's Crown Prince. But that was millions of years ago. I'm sorry, Your Highness, but the continent of the 9 clouds is my home, said Divine Night Monarch apologetically. Qing Wan is not here to make things difficult for anyone. She just loves talented people. However, the Crimson Emperor Kingdom is different from the Qing Imperial Dynasty. I'm sure Emperor Shenshao knows this, said Princess Qing Wan. Night Sorrow is different from me. I joined the Azure Scale Army to solve a crisis for the continent of the 9 clouds. But now, the continent of the 9 clouds is safe. The Red Emperor's kingdom is a bully. If Night Sorrow wants to fight back, we will fight back. I joined the Azure Scale Army to fight back, too, said Divine Night Monarch. That's the spirit of the continent of the 9 clouds. Your Majesty understands. If Night Sorrow joins the Azure Scale Army, it's also a fight against the Red Emperor's kingdom, said Princess Blue Phoenix. She had changed the way she addressed herself, which meant that they were done talking about the past. Alright, but there are some things I need to make clear to Princess Blue Phoenix. The 9 regions world is facing a catastrophe. My real body can't do anything. My real body can only go to the world of reincarnation after the catastrophe is over. Besides, if the Azure Scale Army has a war, I will participate in it. I will also listen to orders. If there is no war, please don't ask me what I want to do, said Night Sorrow. He didn't want Divine Night Monarch and the others to make things difficult for him. All right. If the Red Emperor's kingdom really wants to cause trouble, Your Majesty will do as you say. If the Red Emperor's kingdom doesn't become a threat, we can talk about the conditions again, said Princess Blue Phoenix. Princess Qing Yuan spoke, expressing her magnanimity. Whether she acted or not, the conditions were different. Night Sorrow, I'm sorry. As the Realm Lord, you can have other choices. We will remember your contribution to the continent of the 9 clouds. Divine Night Monarch cupped his hands to Night Sorrow. Divine Night Monarch, you're too serious. I think there's a saying that can be changed. People are not born alive, they are born by fighting. Ants are weak, but they face the sky, not to mention us cultivators, said Night Sorrow. Well said. Princess Blue Phoenix cupped her hands to Night Sorrow. Just some thoughts. Night Sorrow put down his burden, and his state of mind changed a little. Elder Zhua, go back to the Azure Scale Army and announce the war. Then take a small team to guard the teleportation formation of the 9 Clouds world. If you see the Red Emperor's kingdom's troops, persuade them to retreat. If they don't retreat, kill them. Blue Phoenix said to Zhua Tingyun, who was standing in the 1,000 illusion formation and hesitating whether to come out or not. Yes. Hearing Princess Blue Phoenix, Zhua Tingyun's chi changed. Battle intent and killing intent broke out of his body because Princess Blue Phoenix's words were a battle order. After receiving the battle order, he immediately went to arrange it. Night Sorrow, don't worry. Your Majesty forced you to participate and then asked you to join the war. If he didn't want to make a big fuss, Chi-Du wouldn't have mobilized troops. Your Majesty's arrangement is a backup plan, said Princess Blue Phoenix. Princess Blue Phoenix, Night Sorrow still doesn't understand. I'm just a primary king. Is it so important? In other words, is it worth it? Night Sorrow asked. A primary king isn't worth it, but you are. You're a 2-star king around 100 years old. After some training, you won't have any problems growing up. The most important thing is that you have a body of merits. Maybe you don't understand now, but you will in the future. Princess Blue Phoenix nodded. She naturally had a balance in her heart. Night Sorrow had his own considerations. He would have to go to a supreme world sooner or later because he still needed to comprehend the will of the nothingness heaven and earth. It would be useless for him to stay in a high-level world. The 9-domain world would take a long time to grow into a supreme world. The world and the sector master were complementary. If the world developed quickly, the sector master's level would increase. On the other hand, if the sector master's level increased quickly, the world would also develop. Chapter 1106. Night Sorrow, I will help you wipe out the Tiannan dynasty. The Yanmen sect will also give you a satisfactory explanation, Lord Xian Tian said. No, the enmity with the Tiannan dynasty is the 9 regions world's matter. It is also my Yi clan's matter. I will personally take care of the Yi clan's annihilation. This will be an explanation to my ancestors. Even if the Tiannan dynasty dies, they will die with satisfaction. Night Sorrow shook his head and refused. Family matter. The Yi clan's annihilation? Are you a descendant of the Yi clan of the Tiannan dynasty? Lord Xian Tian asked in surprise. Yes, I know a little about it, but it is not very detailed. Shang Tianfeng used a child to threaten the child's parents and then annihilated the Yi clan. This is a disgrace to the Yi clan. Night Sorrow could empathize with Yi Qianhua's experience. A descendant of an old friend. Yi Feng King is my best friend. I am heartbroken that something happened to him. Big Dipper King's face was full of pain. Night Sorrow, King Big Dipper wanted to take revenge for Yi Feng King, but I stopped him. After all, this is a family matter between the Shang clan and the Yi clan. Also, I thought that the old emperor of the Tiannan dynasty, Shang Si King, would handle it. Who knew that he would be disheartened and disappear? I lost this old friend of mine, Lord Xian Tian said apologetically. Thank you, King Big Dipper. Lord Xian Tian, you are right. I will deal with the Tiannan dynasty's matter later. The Yanmen sect and I have no great enmity. They have also paid the price for humiliating my disciple. If they don't provoke me in the future, I will not pursue it. However, their methods in the subsidiary space world are really despicable, Night Sorrow said. Good. I will not ask about the Tiannan dynasty's matter. The Yenmen sect will give you and the world an explanation. Lord Shen Tian nodded. He knew some things in his heart, but he didn't interfere. After drinking a few cups of tea, Lord Shen Shao and the others left. He also had something to do. If Princess Qing Wan and the Red Emperor's Qi capital fought, the battlefield might be Nine Heavens City. Thus, he had to make some arrangements to avoid losses. Only Yi Shang and Princess Qing Wan were left drinking tea. Princess Qing Wan looked at Yi Shang and said, "After you're done, bring me to your 9 regions world for a walk." Princess Qing Wan Heaven. Night Sorrow nodded. At that moment, the 9 realms origin bead tore through space and fused with Night Sorrow's divine sea. The 9 realms origin bead brought Night Sorrow's avatar's storage ring and ripping space. With the origin of the world, you are so domineering. Princess Qing Wan looked at Night Sorrow enviously. Even though she had a high position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty and controlled many lords, she didn't have the ability or opportunity to control the world. Night Sorrow smiled and shook his head. Princess, do as you wish. I plan to make some pills and make an armor. Okay. Your Majesty will also see the skills of a heavenly master alchemist and blacksmith. Princess Qing Wan nodded. In the supreme world, heavenly master alchemists and blacksmiths were rare. After all, to become a heavenly master alchemist and blacksmith required talent and countless materials. It was very difficult to cultivate them unless they were from a big faction. It was very rare for a top faction to have 1 or 2 heavenly master alchemists and blacksmiths. Yi Shang refined the 9 transformation pill first. After this incident, he would go to the reincarnation great world. His main body still needed medicinal pills to increase his cultivation. The best thing he could prepare was that his main body did not need to worry about medicinal pills and resources. His main body could focus on cultivation. 7 days later, the 9 transformation pill was born and lightning tribulation appeared again. Night Sorrow made the 9 transformation pill with pill pattern. Pill tribulation. Then the previous pill tribulation should also be caused by you. Your Majesty knows about the pill this time. It is a pill for cultivating the body. What kind of pill did you make last time? Princess Qing Wan asked when she saw Night Sorrow keeping the pill. If I don't tell you, Princess, you will be unhappy. My future days won't be good. If I tell you, I will probably bleed. It is the Yun spirit pill. Night Sorrow said helplessly. The 9 transformation pill was a pill for strengthening the body. King-level cultivators didn't cultivate the body much, so they didn't need the 9 transformation pill. However, the Yun spirit pill was different. All cultivators needed it. Yun spirit pill. After being baptized by lightning tribulation, it is the pill pattern Yun spirit pill. Your Majesty naturally needs it. You name the price. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Princess Qing Wan was really interested. Her almond eyes were full of light. In the supreme world, the Yun spirit pill was also very rare because the spirit root grass was not available. I came from a small world and haven't seen many good things. Princess Qing Wan, you decide what price to pay. Yi Shang directly took out an elixir vein spirit accumulation pill and gave it to Princess Qing Wan. Night Sorrow only had a few pill pattern Yun spirit pills left. He was also reluctant to part with them, but Princess Qing Wan said that she wanted the pill pattern Yun spirit pill. Smart guy, these are king-level pills, marrow cleansing pill and spirit congealing pill. In addition, Your Majesty still has time to cultivate in the reincarnation palace. I'll give you 30 years. Princess Qing Wan took out 2 jade bottles and said. Where is the reincarnation palace? Night Sorrow asked. It's close to the Jiuxiao Pagoda in your Jiuxiao world group. It's a place where you can comprehend the will of heaven and earth. Currently, the top forces of the reincarnation world occupy the cultivation time. Cultivation time is relatively rare. Your Majesty can only obtain 100 years of cultivation time every 10,000 years. Princess Qing Yuan said. Can I comprehend any will of heaven and earth? Knight Sorrow's eyes lit up. Of course. As long as there is a will of heaven and earth, the reincarnation palace will naturally have it. That's the supreme world, you understand? Princess Qing Yuan said. Understood. Knight Sorrow's heart was very moved. He needed this time too much. Whenever you want to use this time, you can find your Majesty, no matter what the result of this matter is. Princess Qing Yuan could see Knight Sorrow's inner joy. Thank you, Princess. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands towards Princess Qing Yuan. Reincarnation Palace has 5,000 years of cultivation time every 10,000 years. Every top force gets different amounts of time. The Qing Emperor's dynasty is considered to have a larger share, but this time will be used by the dynasty to reward people who have made contributions. Your Majesty's cultivation time is also obtained by relying on his ability, not on the princess's status. Princess Qing Yuan explained the importance of this time. PV Knight Sorrow understands. Thank you, Princess, for your generosity. Knight Sorrow stood up and cupped his hands. There are some things that you will know after you come in contact with them. The results of hard work and hard work are not the same. Both are risking their lives, but the benefits obtained in the small world and the supreme world are completely different. That is the stage for the strong to rise. Your Majesty didn't say this to win you over, it's the truth. Princess Qing Yuan looked at Knight Sorrow and said. Knight Sorrow understood what Princess Qing Yuan said. If you fought with your life in the small world, you might only obtain low-level materials. However, if you obtained it in the supreme world, you might obtain a heaven-defying opportunity. Chapter 1107. At the end of this exchange, they both got what they needed. Princess Qing Yuan used the elixir with inscriptions to improve her cultivation aptitude. Okay. The marrow cleansing elixir was not very useful to Knight Sorrow. After all, his flesh, blood, bones, and marrow had all been turned into energy. But it was a rare elixir for others. The spirit congealing elixir was of great use to Yishang. It was an elixir that could stabilize the divine soul pearl, which could only be found by chance. As for the cultivation time in the Samsara Palace, it was of greater significance to Yishang. It could determine his future height. After straightening out his thoughts, Knight Sorrow sorted out the refining materials and planned to refine an armor. He prepared some time purple sand and space iron. The space iron was purchased from the Celestial Master Pavilion. The time purple sand was very rare and could not be bought, but Bei Xing gave some to Knight Sorrow. Looking at the space iron and time purple sand, Knight Sorrow found that it was not enough to refine an armor. After thinking for a while, he decided to refine a triangular half-body armor. It was a compromise to protect the left shoulder, heart, and left arm. In the battle, Knight Sorrow held it with his right hand. It was most convenient to choose the left side of his body to resist the attack. With the idea, Knight Sorrow began to refine. Leaving the Tianxian world for the world of Samsara was to fight. Weapons and armor must be strengthened. Melting the space iron, cooling it down, carving the formation, hammering it, forging the lock, carving the formation, and hammering it. The half-body armor designed by Knight Sorrow was a combination of the shoulder, and the arm guard was a combination of scales and locks. This did not affect the flexibility. Princess Qing Yuan was drinking tea and watching. Her soul power was exploring the surroundings. As long as Qi Du and others came, she could enter the formation immediately and watch the development of the situation. She would only take action when needed. One by one, the parts were forged. Knight Sorrow was also thinking during the forging, trying to perfect the shape and effect of the armor. Creating the armor took a lot of time, and it took more than 20 days. Knight Sorrow's idea of a space-time armor took shape. It was a silver, slanted triangular armor with purple light. The shoulder was a hole, and it had a sharp slanted upward hook. The main body was silver, and the purple edges of the edges were like dragon scales that were tightly combined to form the arm guard and the body protection. With a swing of the sky splitter, he cut open his wrist and sprinkled his own blood on the armor. The owner recognition was complete, and the forging was complete. King's mid-grade defensive equipment, because it wasn't top-grade, no lightning tribulation descended. It was mainly because of the lack of materials. With Night Sorrow's soul power, a set of armor appeared on Night Sorrow's body. Following which, with a thought, Night Sorrow transformed the set of armor into shoulder pads, which he attached to Night Sorrow's left shoulder. Why isn't it a body armor, but something between armor and shoulder pads? Princess Qing Yuan asked. I had no other choice. I don't have enough materials. When I have enough materials in the future, I'll evolve. That's all I can do for now, Night Sorrow said. Princess Qing Yuan didn't say anything. The lack of materials and resources was a problem that many cultivators faced. At that moment, Night Sorrow communicated with the Dragon Cauldron again. He planned to evolve the Dragon Cauldron. After becoming a heavenly adept, Night Sorrow saw the level and flaws of the Dragon Cauldron and the Spacetime Pagoda. The Dragon Cauldron was a high-grade sacred artifact. It was powerful now because the artifact spirit was complete and mature. The fundamental reason that limited the Dragon Cauldron's level was that the materials used were low-grade and the array engravings were rough. Back then, Yao Qing was a saint. It was already very rare for him to be able to refine a high-grade sacred artifact. The Dragon Cauldron's evolution would depend on Night Sorrow to improve it. After confirming that the artifact spirit wouldn't be damaged, Night Sorrow started to evolve the Dragon Cauldron. First, he destroyed the array, engraved a new array, and then added new materials. The material that Night Sorrow used this time was the Flame Origin Stone. It was the spoils of war from killing the Blazing King. Princess Qing Yuan could see that Night Sorrow was going to arm himself to the teeth. His weapon was a king artifact, his armor was a king artifact. Now that he was evolving the Dragon Cauldron, he was using king-grade materials. The finished product would naturally be a king artifact. In the Supreme World, perhaps only monarchs could do this. It was very difficult for ordinary kings to even possess a single king artifact. King-grade materials were hard to come by. Also, the price of hiring a heavenly adept was too high. Ordinary people couldn't afford it. When Night Sorrow was halfway through, Princess Qing Yuan stood up. They are here. Your Majesty should leave first. If you can't come to an agreement, they will use force. Your Majesty will appear. Then, Princess Qing Yuan flashed into the array. Princess, they definitely can't come to an agreement, right? After arranging the battle order, Zhua Tungfei, who had returned a few days ago, said. Of course. What kind of character is Chi-Du? Will Night Sorrow spoil him? Definitely not. Princess Qing Yuan nodded. She was very confident. Night Sorrow continued to forge the Dragon Cauldron. He didn't plan to stop. So what if Chi-Du was evil? He couldn't just come and interrupt him, right? Chi-Du was also found using the divination array. He didn't make a decision because he wasn't confident. He felt that there was no result if he continued to investigate. In terms of boldness, he wasn't as bold as Princess Qing Yuan. After arriving, Chi-Du frowned. His face was filled with impatience. An old man beside him pulled a chair for him before he sat down. After using 5 days, Night Sorrow completed the evolution of the Dragon Cauldron. The main body of the Dragon Cauldron was all origin flame stones. The previous materials were all treated as impurities by Night Sorrow during the replacement of the materials. After feeling the power and weight of the Dragon Cauldron, Night Sorrow stored the Dragon Cauldron that was already at the same level as the armor back into his body. The weapon spirit also needed to familiarize itself with the Dragon Cauldron. May I ask why Sire and the others are here? Night Sorrow poured himself a cup of tea and said. Pack up and leave with this prince. In the future, you will serve this prince. Chi-Du said. It was equivalent to giving an order. This is your idea, not mine, right? Night Sorrow said with a smile. Although he knew that there was almost no possibility of negotiation, Night Sorrow didn't want to fall out with him immediately. He wanted to try again. Your idea isn't important. What is important is what this prince wants you to do. Chi-Du said with a cold face. Then I won't hide it from you. I am the Realm Lord. This is just a soul clone. What can you do to me? Night Sorrow said his trump card. You are the Realm Lord? Chi-Du stood up. Night Sorrow waved his arm and tore the space apart. Then, the 9 domain sources brought the armor and dragon cauldron into the space turbulence. Chi-Du waved his hand to stop them, but there was no effect. The origin of a world was supported by the power of the world. It wasn't something that anyone could stop or control. My true body will guide the origin of the world back. If you use force, you will only kill my soul clone. However, I will remember this hatred. So, you should go back to where you came from. Night Sorrow said. In fact, the 9 domain sources were in the space turbulence. If there was a battle, Princess Qing Luan would interfere. Chapter 1108. Then this prince will destroy your city, destroy all the people related to you, and wash the sky profound world and the 9 firmament world group with blood. Aren't you a virtuous person? This prince will let you be plagued with sin. Chi-Du's triangular eyes emitted a fierce light. Chi-Du. I will remember this name. You also remember today's threat. I will return it 100 times. My name is Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow said coldly. Who are you to threaten this prince? If you can't work for me, you can die. Chi-Du waved his hand and let the people behind him take action. Chi-Du, he is your majesty's man. What are you doing? Just as Chi-Du's subordinates were about to take action, Princess Qing Luan appeared. The time was right. It was time for her to take action and collect the results. Qing Luan, what do you mean? Chi-Du frowned. This situation was beyond his expectations. What do I mean? Your Majesty has said it very clearly. Night Sorrow is a member of the Qing Luan army. Are you planning to declare war on the Qing Luan army? Qing Luan said. Night Sorrow, you can do it, but your foundation and the 9 firmament world group, this prince will definitely destroy it. Looking at Zhua Tingyun, who was standing beside Night Sorrow, he said. He did not have the chance to make a move on Night Sorrow. Chi-Du, your Majesty promised Night Sorrow that the Qing Emperor's dynasty will protect the 9 firmament world group. If you touch the 9 firmament world group, you will be declaring war on the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Princess Qing Luan looked coldly at Chi-Du and said the conditions that she had discussed with Night Sorrow. Qing Luan, this prince has given you enough face. Don't push your luck. This prince wants to destroy this 9 firmament world group. You can't protect it. Chi-Du narrowed his eyes and looked at Qing Luan. For the only authentic version, the others are all pirated versions. Then you can give it a try. Now you can mobilize your troops and see if you can return alive after entering the 9 firmament world group. In addition, as long as the people of your Red Emperor country appear in the 9 firmament world group again, the Green Phoenix army will immediately attack the subsidiary worlds of the Red Emperor country. If you want to play, your Majesty will play with you to the end. You say your Majesty can't protect you? Your Majesty doesn't believe it. Princess Qing Luan directly declared war in the face of Chi-Du's threat. Prince, forget it. Just treat it as giving Princess Qing Luan some face. The old man beside Chi-Du said in a low voice. Night Sorrow, remember this. Don't mess with this prince. Otherwise, this prince will kill you. Chi-Du looked at Night Sorrow and said coldly. Who do you think you are? I said your threat to me, I will return it to you 100 times. In the future, when I have nothing to do, I will go to the Red Emperor country for a walk. Night Sorrow said. Chi-Du used the Sky Profound World and the 9 Firmament World Group to threaten him. Night Sorrow already saw him as a life and death enemy. You dare? Chi-Du stared at Night Sorrow and touched the hilt of the sword at his waist. Why wouldn't I dare? Night Sorrow snorted coldly. Pointing his finger at Night Sorrow, Chi-Du brought his men and left. He knew that if he stayed any longer, he would be bullied. With Qing Wan here, he couldn't do anything to Night Sorrow. In terms of strength, Chi-Du and Princess Qing Wan were about the same. Even if there was a difference, it wouldn't be too big. However, in their respective forces, their positions were different. In the Qing Emperor dynasty, Qing Wan was the one with real power. She had the ability to take responsibility for the consequences of her declaration of war. If she wanted to fight, Qing Wan could directly mobilize the Qing Wan army. However, Chi-Du couldn't. If Chi-Du wanted to fight, he could fight alone, but if it was a large-scale battle, he had to report it because he didn't have a large-scale army. After Chi-Du left, Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards Qing Wan. He knew that things were set in stone. If Chi-Du had the ability, he wouldn't have retreated today. Brat. I reckon that in the reincarnation world, no one dares to threaten Chi-Du. You are the first. Good. Zhou Tingyun gave Night Sorrow a thumbs up. Hee, with Princess Qing Wan here, he can't do anything to me. Why don't I leave a shadow in his heart? Night Sorrow said with a smile. That's true. However, he won't be afraid of your threat. Zhou Tingyun said. Threat? I didn't threaten him. I'm telling the truth. If I don't fight back after being bullied like this, of course I have to fight back. Of course I have to fight back. If I endure it, then I won't be able to face my own heart. You can kill me, but I can't endure it. I can lose anything, but I can't lose my dignity, said Yishan. Arrogance, backbone. Night Sorrow's words made Qing Wan and Zhou Tingyun understand the pride in Night Sorrow's bones, the pride in the depths of his soul. Princess Qing Wan, don't worry. I won't be careless when fighting for the Qing Emperor's empire. Fighting with Chi-Du is my personal matter. Night Sorrow said. He didn't want Princess Qing Wan to have any misgivings. Princess Qing Wan nodded. Night Sorrow's promise made her feel more at ease. Everyone in the army had to follow orders. She was also worried that Night Sorrow would act recklessly. When the time comes, I'll follow you and cheer for you. Zhou Tingyun said with a smile. He now found Night Sorrow very pleasing to the eye. Chi-Du was too arrogant, and Night Sorrow dared to extinguish Chi-Du's arrogance. Elder Zhou, you're also acting recklessly. Princess Qing Wan glared at Zhou Tingyun. At this time, Night Sorrow's main body also told Xia Lanjun that the interrealm teleportation formation could be connected. 7 Night City returned to normal. After recalling the 9 regions' origins, Night Sorrow removed the 1000 development illusionary formation. Then, he brought Princess Qing Wan and Zhou Tingyun to the pavilion in the center of the small building and brewed a pot of heart-cleansing tea. Calm the heart, good tea. Zhou Tingyun said after drinking a mouthful. Heart-cleansing tea, not bad. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. Not bad? Aren't you a bit too arrogant? Zhou Tingyun looked at Night Sorrow with disdain. If there's a chance, I'll let you experience real good tea. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Your Majesty also likes tea. I'm looking forward to your good tea. Princess Qing Wan put down the teacup in her hand and said. Of course, no problem. The interrealm teleportation formation is already being set up. We'll go to the 9 regions world later. I'll inform my family and friends, then I can follow Princess to the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Night Sorrow said. Okay. By the way, you said that the 9 regions world is facing a tribulation. What's going on? Princess Qing Wan asked. Without hiding anything from Princess Qing Wan, Night Sorrow told her the details of the 9 regions tribulation. The high-level king still needs the people of the 9 regions world to deal with it themselves. This is a bit difficult. Even though you have the ability to fight above your level, this is too big. Princess Qing Wan was a bit worried for Night Sorrow. Don't worry, I have a backup plan. Currently, the evil world can't break through the protection of the 9 regions' origins. Even if the evil king manages to break through, I still have time to react. Night Sorrow said. Clone? Isn't this just a clone? Zhua Tingyun looked at Night Sorrow and said. There's one more, but it's fused with the heaven-sealing Great Hall that manifested from the 9 regions' essences. It can't leave that specific area. Right now, only my main body and this clone can move about in other places, Yishan said after thinking for a moment. Not bad, very powerful. Zhua Tingyun nodded. Just as the 3 of them were talking, Xia Lanjun and Xueshi came to the small lakeside building and told Night Sorrow that 7 Night City had returned to normal. The interrealm teleportation formation was also open. Chapter 1109. Night Sorrow got up and made an inviting gesture. Princess Qing Luan stood up and let the guards guard this place. Only Zhua Tingyun and Bai Ling followed Night Sorrow to the teleportation array. King Grade teleportation array, not bad. It can even connect to the reincarnation Great World. Looking at the King Grade teleportation crystal on the teleportation array, the Blue Phoenix Monarch said with some surprise. I risked my life to get it. The 9 regions world is quite far from the mysterious sky world and the other worlds in the 9 clouds world group. Normal teleportation crystals won't work. Night Sorrow explained. Work hard. If you have enough battle merits, Your Majesty can talk to the Crown Prince Royal Brother and let your teleportation array be connected to the Qing Emperor's dynasty's teleportation array. Princess Qing Luan said. Night Sorrow nodded. He was very happy. Connecting to the mysterious sky world, the 9 regions world could develop to a new level. If it was connected to the supreme world, the development speed would increase. As for safety, you don't have to worry. In the supreme world, there is a secret technique for the teleportation array crystal to recognize its master. If the teleportation array crystal recognizes its master, if the master doesn't open it intentionally, people who are stronger than the master of the teleportation array crystal will not be able to teleport. In fact, this secret technique is tailor-made for the realm master. Princess Qing Luan explained to Night Sorrow. That's great. In that kind of situation, there's really nothing to worry about, said Yishang. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, there are many kinds of secret techniques. There is only one exchange condition, and that is merit. You can exchange for the resources you need with merit. Princess Qing Luan looked at Night Sorrow and said. Very good. I like this kind of challenge. I can fight for whatever I need. Night Sorrow's blood was boiling. This kind of challenge was what he needed and what he looked forward to. When they reached the teleportation array of the city in the sky, Xia Lanjun, who was in charge of guarding, bowed to Night Sorrow. Hong Yi and Lanning also arrived. The 2 of them also cupped their hands to Night Sorrow. When they reached the mansion, Night Sorrow introduced Princess Qing Luan to his parents, wife, Xueshi, Zhu Jiuyun and the others. Night Sorrow explained the situation to everyone. Night Sorrow, we'll go with you. You'll need help as well, Hong Yi said. There's no need. You guys can stay in the 9 domains world and work hard on your cultivation. I'll help you guys think of a way to deal with the doppelganger technique. I won't be taking the space-time pagoda with me. Just leave it here, Night Sorrow said. Then we'll go look for you after we finish cultivating our clones. Lanning spoke. She didn't understand where this suppression came from. One must know that she had the life attribute and will of life as her main attribute. Currently, no one could suppress her, but Night Sorrow had this kind of feeling. Princess Green Phoenix didn't say this to Zhua Tingyun and Bai Ling because it was too important. This was Night Sorrow's foundation. After staying in the lake for half a day, Night Sorrow returned to the mansion and went to the guest room where Princess Green Phoenix was staying. Shall I bring Princess around to take a look? Night Sorrow said. Okay, then let's take a look. This city in the sky is not bad. It's a good place to cultivate. Princess Green Phoenix had a very high evaluation of the city in the sky. Then, Night Sorrow brought Princess Green Phoenix, Zwa Tingyun, and by Ling to the profound mysteries realm, supreme river space, and nether realm. Then, they went to Clear Sky City. At this time, Clear Sky City was in the midst of construction and had a certain scale. Now, the people of the 9 regions world were united. It was mainly because of Night Sorrow, the absolute core. No matter which faction or family it was, they would absolutely listen to Night Sorrow and the Commander-in-Chief's Residence's orders. The hard work they put in now was the foundation of their future development. Only one original copy, the others were all pirated copies. The management is very good. There are no problems with the prospects of the 9 regions world. Princess Green Phoenix commented. After walking around Clear Sky City, Night Sorrow brought them back to the city in the sky. Night Sorrow did not say goodbye to anyone. His original body was still in the 9 regions world to cultivate and guard. After all, the threat of the evil spirit world still existed. After having dinner with his parents and wife and resting for a while, Night Sorrow took Hong Yi and Lan Ning and followed Princess Green Phoenix. It's actually not bad. The original body's cultivation will not be delayed. The clone can work hard and fight for opportunities and a future, Princess Green Phoenix said. Night Sorrow nodded. His original body had already made the dual polarity pill. After using it, it could increase the compatibility of space and time attributes. It could even transform into space-time rules and space-time intent. The group arrived at the 9 Clouds world. In front of the teleportation formation, Night Sorrow met some of the leaders of the 9 Clouds world group. Shin Shao Monarch, Zi Shao Monarch, Xian Tian Monarch, 7 Rain Monarch were all there. There were also a few monarchs that Night Sorrow did not know and was familiar with. Chapter 11:10. All the sovereigns are here. This made Night Sorrow blush with shame. Night Sorrow cupped his fists and said, "You are the Sector Lord. As long as you return to the 9 regions world, no one can do anything to you. You are willing to carry it because of the 9 Clouds world group. We understand." Purple Cloud's sovereign said, "Work hard. You have to weigh everything in your heart. If there are any problems, send a message back." Divine Night Sovereign handed Night Sorrow a spirit crystal. "Thank you for your concern, Divine Night Monarch." Night Sorrow bowed and accepted the spirit crystal. This was Divine Night Sovereign's kind intentions. Whether he wanted to use it or not was up to him. "I will protect the development of 7 Night City. I will also announce the ownership of 7 Night City. Without you, as long as I am alive, no one can touch 7 Night City." Xian Tian's sovereign looked at Night Sorrow and made a promise. He felt that he owed Night Sorrow. In fact, he also owed Night Sorrow. "Night Sorrow, I owe you. If you need any help, feel free to send a message back," said the 7 Rain Sovereign. 7 Rain Sovereign, I am very sorry. I have let you down. Night Sorrow said apologetically. In terms of effort and return, Night Sorrow did not owe 7 Rain Sovereign anything. Instead, 7 Rain Sovereign owed him more. However, 7 Rain Sovereign valued him from the very beginning. It was friendship. Yi Shang, the older generation of the 9 Firmament World Group, is useless. We can't let others threaten you with the safety of the 9 Firmament World Group. I'm sorry. No Beginning King bowed slightly to Yi Shang. It was very rare for a monarch to bow to another monarch because their statuses were not equal. No Beginning Sovereign, you are too polite. Black Wind and Chen Bai are my friends. You are also an elder that needs to be respected. This is a small gift. Please accept it." Night Sorrow thought for a moment, then took out a jade bottle and handed it to No Beginning Sovereign. He felt that as a sovereign, if No Beginning Sovereign could bow to him, it was a sign of good morals. He was qualified to use the soul cultivation liquid. Then, Night Sorrow looked at Monarch Hai Lan. "When Long Jean comes out of seclusion, help me say hi. When we meet again, we won't leave until we're drunk." "Very well. He has already entered the king's realm. I am still cultivating in the 9 Heavens Tower. I will pass on your message. Monarch Hai Lan nodded. Thank you all for sending me off. Let's go. Night Sorrow turned to look at Blue Wan's phoenix carriage. Then, the group entered the interrealm teleportation array and began the teleportation. I wonder what you are giving me, No Beginning Sovereign said as he looked at the jade bottle in his hand. I won't disappoint you. She had already guessed what was inside the jade bottle. She was very shocked by how much soul cultivation liquid Night Sorrow had obtained. Yao Yu and Sung Yun have disappointed me greatly. Monarch Shen Shao sighed. After knowing about Night Sorrow's decision, Monarch Shen Shao notified the other monarchs of the Nine Cloud World Group. Those two bastards didn't come, Lord Xian Tian cursed. Forget it. I am very happy that most of you are here. 1 or 2 is nothing. Monarch Shen Shao shook his head. They're hostile to Night Sorrow, and they're coveting Night Sorrow's resources. They'll regret it in the future. The Seven Rains Sovereign sneered and cupped his hands at the others before turning to leave. The other monarchs also shook their heads and left. Everyone despised Monarch Sangyun and Yao Yu's actions. After No Beginning Sovereign returned to Endless Mountain, he opened the jade bottle. After opening it, his expression changed. Master, what's wrong? Luo Qi Sha, King 7 Kills, asked. He had followed No Beginning Sovereign for many years and had never seen such a drastic change in his expression. I owe him a big favor. Currently, I have no way to repay him. No Beginning Sovereign shook his head. He understood that it was because he bowed to express his apology that he had received Night Sorrow's approval. Therefore, Night Sorrow had given him an opportunity. Little brother, you and your 6th senior brother have made a good friend. You have to work hard. Otherwise, you will not be able to keep up. No Beginning Sovereign looked at Heifeng and said. Master, I do not understand. Heifeng rubbed the back of his head and said. Night Sorrow gave me 3 drops of soul cultivation liquid. No Beginning Sovereign did not hide it from his disciple. Haha. This is a good friend. He is a true friend. Heifeng said happily. Chapter Unspecified Currency Section 1-inch friends are not separated by status. He is a king and you are a half-step king. Would you feel comfortable sitting together and drinking tea? For the sake of friendship, you have to keep up. Even if you cannot keep up, the gap cannot be too big. No Beginning Sovereign looked at Heifeng and said. Heifeng bowed and nodded. He understood what No Beginning Sovereign meant. Qi Sha, if you have nothing to do, come to Heaven Mystic World more often. Night Sorrow has built a city called 7 Night City. If you have any trouble, help him out. If it is a big problem, inform Monarch Xian Tian or me. No Beginning Sovereign instructed his eldest disciple, Luo Qi Sha. I thank you on behalf of Night Sorrow, Master. Heifeng bowed and said. I don't need it. Even without the soul cultivation liquid, would still do it. Yishang left the continent of the 9 Cloud Worlds to fight for the safety of the continent of the 9 Cloud Worlds. As the king of the continent of the 9 Cloud Worlds, I have the responsibility to help him, said No Beginning King, shaking his head. Luo Qi Sha and Heifeng looked at each other. Neither of them understood what No Beginning Sovereign meant. Seeing his disciple's confusion, No Beginning Sovereign told him what happened to Night Sorrow. The Red Emperor country is too shameless. They actually used the 9 Firmament World Group to threaten Night Sorrow. After hearing No Beginning Sovereign's words, Heifeng was so angry that his hair stood on end. No Beginning Sovereign stood up and left. There was nothing he could do about this. Little brother, we can't interfere in these matters. Our boundless mountain owes Yishang too much. Your 3rd senior sister's lifespan was given by him. Master's opportunity was also given by him. I will be going to the profound heaven world soon. You have to work hard in your cultivation. Otherwise, the gap between you and your 6th senior brother, 3rd senior sister, and Yishang will only grow bigger and bigger. Luo Qisha warned Heifeng before he stood up and left. After knowing the whole story, even if no beginning sovereign did not ask him to do it, there were some things he would do. Hafen waved his arm and left the no beginning palace. He had the motivation to cultivate. Night Sorrow and the others came out of the teleportation array. The location they were at was the Qing Emperor city of the reincarnation world, the capital of the Qing Emperor dynasty. Princess, are we going back to the Qing Yuan Palace or to the army's encampment? Zhua Tingyun asked. Let's go to the Qing Yuan Palace first. Your Majesty still has to meet father and brother Crown Prince. Princess Qing Yuan said. In the Qing Emperor dynasty, the number 1 person was naturally the Qing Emperor. The number 2 person was the Crown Prince who was in charge of the Qing Lin army. Then, there was the commander of the Qing Yuan army, Qing Yuan. After flying for a while, the group entered the vast Qing Yuan Palace. This was the residence of Princess Qing Yuan. Looking at the guards at the door, whose cultivation could not be detected, Night Sorrow was shocked. This was the style of the top forces in the supreme world. The guards at the door were all intermediate king level and above. Chapter 11:11. Entering Qing Yuan Palace, Qing Yuan arranged for Night Sorrow to stay in the guest house. Looking around the guest house, Night Sorrow made a cup of tea. Hong Yi, Laning, you two are different from me. I'm a doppelganger, so there's danger and leeway. You two are the main body, so you must always pay attention to your own safety. We're your followers, so there shouldn't be a problem if we listen to your orders. You don't have to worry about us. Laning said. Take these Saint Spirit stones and use them for your cultivation. Take the Spirit Fount pills as well. Night Sorrow took out some Saint Spirit stones and the Yun Spirit pills he refined later and gave them to Hong Yi and Laning. Thank you. By the way, we're your followers now, so it's not appropriate to call you by your name. Calling you Sector Lord will expose your background, and we can't call you Commander. What should we call you in the future? Hong Yi said. They were about to enter Qing Yuan army, so calling him Commander Han was taboo. Then just call me Young Master. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio. Hong Yi and Laning nodded. Danger and opportunity coexist. We've come to world of reincarnation, and as long as we work hard, we'll get what we want. The only thing we're lacking now is our starting point. We can't even see the cultivation of the guards at the door. Night Sorrow said. Hong Yi and Laning nodded. World of reincarnation was too deep, and King was nothing. If they hadn't followed Night Sorrow and Princess Qing Yuan, they wouldn't have been able to establish themselves here. Drinking tea, Night Sorrow felt that the current situation was not bad. He only brought a little soul-nourishing tea, and left the rest for his main body to improve his soul cultivation. His main body used time acceleration to improve his cultivation in the pagoda of time and space, and his energy cultivation could quickly catch up with his realm. His realm could also be deduced based on his comprehension. However, Night Sorrow's main body wasn't deducing his realm cultivation yet. While improving his cultivation, he fused the will of time and space, and set off towards the will of time and space. Of the 4 high-level attributes, the life and death attributes lean towards the increase of life level, the time and space attributes lean towards the increase of battle strength. The life and death attributes were the yin and yang attributes, while the time and space attributes were the time and space attributes. They were above all attributes below the supreme attribute. After coming to the world of reincarnation, Yishang relied on his control of the time and space attributes. Yishang didn't dare to expose the existence of the sovereign attribute and the void attribute. Otherwise, he would be killed. Young Master, once you enter the army, you must get a high position. That way, you won't easily become cannon fodder, Reddy said to Yishan. Yes, there's nothing wrong with charging and breaking through enemy lines. However, if you're controlled by many people, it's easy for problems to arise. It's not good to meet a boss with a more ruthless personality. Yishang nodded. Let's see how Princess Qing Yuan arranges it. No matter if it's a small team leader or a large team leader, they all follow the commander. It's very important what kind of commander we are placed under. If we meet someone with a gentle personality, it's easy to get along. Knight Sorrow nodded, but he felt that Princess Qing Yuan wouldn't arrange for him to be in the position of cannon fodder after putting in so much effort. At this time, Qing Yuan came to the Qing Emperor's palace. This time, she was ordered by the Qing Emperor to go to the Nine Firmament world to find someone with a virtuous body. As for why Qing Yuan arranged for Knight Sorrow to be in the Qing Yuan army, it wasn't her own decision. The Qing Emperor arranged for Qing Yuan to go because he wanted his daughter's subordinates to be stronger. If he didn't want to give someone to Qing Yuan, he wouldn't have sent Qing Yuan. After entering the Qing Emperor's palace, Qing Yuan first went to the Crown Prince's palace. In the Qing Emperor's palace, the Qing Emperor was the master, but many things were handled by Crown Prince Qinglin. "Sister, you're back. Did everything go well?" Qing Yuan entered the palace. Crown Prince Qinglin, who was originally writing a document, stood up. Qinglin's body was a little weak. He wore a light purple battle robe with a qilin embroidered on it. He had a silver crown on his head. He looked very scholarly, but those who knew him knew that not only was his position high in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, his own strength was also unparalleled. "Greetings, brother Crown Prince. Everything went well. I've already brought the person back. After greeting you, I'll report to father." Qing Yuan smiled and said, "It's good that it went well. A subordinate with a virtuous body is 100 benefits and no harm." Qinglin smiled and said, "In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, there were many princes but only one princess. Logically speaking, as the only princess of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Qing Yuan should have the most comfortable life. However, that was not the case. All the sons and daughters of the Qing Emperor were treated the same. They were all fighting for the dynasty. The most outstanding ones were Crown Prince Qinglin and Princess Qing Yuan. They were also the closest to each other. Then, the two of them left the Crown Prince's palace. They passed through the Qing Emperor's palace and arrived at the Azure Sky Pavilion. The Azure Sky Pavilion was the place where the Qing Emperor cultivated. Only a limited number of people could enter and leave. If others entered without permission, they would be executed. When they arrived at the Azure Sky Pavilion, Qinglin and Qing Yuan bowed. "Come in." A majestic voice came from the Azure Sky Pavilion. Hearing the summons, Qinglin and Qing Yuan entered the Azure Sky Pavilion. Inside the Azure Sky Pavilion, an old man wearing a black robe embroidered with mountain and river patterns was playing chess with a middle-aged man wearing a brocade robe and a golden crown. Seeing Qinglin and Qing Yuan enter, the old man in the black robe stood up and saluted them. He was the Qing Emperor's divination master, Xian Daozi. "Greetings, father." "Greetings, Taoist master." Qinglin and Qing Yuan saluted the Qing Emperor and Xian Daozi. Xian Daozi was the Qing Emperor's personal attendant. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, everyone had to respect him. "Sir, I'll take my leave first." Xian Daozi bowed to the Qing Emperor and nodded to Qinglin and Qing Yuan before leaving the Azure Sky Pavilion. "Have a seat, you two." "How is Qing Yuan?" The Qing Emperor waved at Qinglin and Qing Yuan. "I paid a small price. Everything else went well." Qing Yuan said. "Talents are always arrogant. Paying a small price is nothing." The Qing Emperor nodded. "It was originally very difficult to succeed. It was the Red Emperor's kingdom's Qi Du who got involved and gave me a chance," Qing Yuan said. "Very difficult to succeed? No way. Is there anyone who can resist your invitation?" Qinglin said with a smile. "It's true. That guy is very stubborn and is not afraid of threats. Not only is he a body of merit, but he is also a sector master of a world. When we found him, he was just a clone who was not afraid of death," Qing Yuan said. "A sector master of a world. It seems that he is not just a body of merit. He is also a person who is favored by the heavens." The Qing Emperor nodded. "It's a bit of an exaggeration. He himself is a legend. He is only a little over 100 years old, and now he is a king with 2 high-level attributes. He is very strong at fighting above his level. The reason he succeeded this time was because of the threat from the Red Emperor's kingdom. It made him feel disgusted and apprehensive. That was why Qing Yuan had the chance to bring him back, Qing Yuan said. Chapter 11-12. The stability and rise of a force is accompanied by killing. When there is killing, there will be sins. When there are too many sins, it will naturally affect the rise and fall of a force. At this time, it is very important for a person with a body of merit to join. It may hurt his merit, but it can't be helped. The Qing Emperor, who was wearing a brocade robe and a golden crown, said with illusory and real energy gathering around him. Maybe it's a coincidence. He joined the Qing Emperor's expedition this time. It won't hurt his merit, at least it won't hurt his merit, because his starting point is to fight. It is for the Red Emperor's country to fight against the threat of the 9 Clouds world. Qing Yuan said. Good. Killing the goose that lays the golden eggs is not the way of a king. Father is not willing to destroy a person with a body of merit. It is even a sin. This is the best. The Qing Emperor said. Congratulations, father. Congratulations, sister. Qing Lin said with a smile. Qing Yuan, what do you plan to do? The Qing Emperor asked. 2 positions, my daughter's personal guards, and the Thunder Army under Commander Lei Ting. Qing Yuan said. Sister, the Thunder Army must fight in every battle. Is this appropriate? Qing Lin's expression changed. Qing Yuan nodded and told him her thoughts. She felt that Yi Shang needed to sharpen himself and grow. Now that he was full of sharpness, it was the time for him to fight. It was also the time for Yi Shang to establish himself. You want him to accumulate merits and then get to a more important position, right? The Qing Emperor asked. Yes, he is a talent that must be valued. Not to mention his strength and potential, he is also a heavenly alchemist and weapon refiner. His attainments and formations are also very profound. Qing Yuan said. Very good. We will follow your decision. However, father wants to meet this young man when he has time. You can all leave. The Qing Emperor waved his hand. Qing Lin and Qing Yuan bowed to the Qing Emperor and then left the Azure Sky Pavilion. After walking out of the Azure Sky Pavilion, Qing Lin patted his forehead. Father might be interested in this night's sorrow. Qing Yuan was also stunned for a moment. She and Qing Lin didn't know much about Qing Emperor, but Qing Emperor loved formations and refining weapons. When he said that Night Sorrow was a heavenly master, Qing Emperor had an obvious reaction. Maybe I'm just slightly interested. Who wouldn't be interested in such a person? Qing Yuan said after thinking for a while. Ever since Big Senior Brother went crazy, Father hasn't taken in any disciples. This Night Sorrow might be able to catch Father's attention, Qing Lin said. As one of the supreme figures in the world of samsara, the Qing Emperor only had one disciple, Sandalwood. Sandalwood was extremely talented. Her cultivation had improved rapidly, but her soul and state of mind had not kept up. Furthermore, she had been obsessed with studying formations, which had led her to go crazy. She was still imprisoned by the Qing Emperor, and no one could see her. Qing Yuan didn't say anything. After parting with Qing Lin, she returned to the Azure Phoenix Palace. While drinking tea, Qing Yuan was lost in thought. She felt that what Qing Lin said was possible. It was hard to find a famous cultivator, but it was also hard to find a good disciple. Cultivators with fame and status wouldn't take in disciples easily. If the disciple didn't achieve anything, it meant that the master was incompetent. If the disciple didn't do well, it would ruin the master's reputation. Night Sorrow was a sector lord, had the body of merit, and was also a king with 2 high-level attributes. It was normal for such a talent to attract the attention of the tycoon. Qing Yuan didn't have any orders in the Azure Phoenix Palace. Night Sorrow made pills every day, and then practiced his combat skills. Cultivation didn't mean fighting strength. When one was stuck in the realm and cultivation, the way to improve fighting strength was to improve fighting skills. The power of fighting skills was something that couldn't be ignored. Knight Sorrow had his own understanding of fighting skills. There were defensive fighting skills, speed fighting skills, and offensive fighting skills. Offensive fighting skills were divided into control and killing moves. Knight Sorrow didn't have any defensive fighting skills at the moment. What he was thinking about now was defensive fighting skills. Knight Sorrow fused vibration force and ripple force into his chi shield. When faced with an attack, the chi shield would use a special method to eliminate the opponent's attack power. Knight Sorrow had two ideas. One was time ripple force, the other was space ripple force. Currently, Knight Sorrow controlled king-level energy of time and space. His willpower was also space and time willpower. If he used one method to defend against two types of energy, the opponent would be able to see through it. Therefore, he wanted to study too. Because the time attribute willpower and energy were higher than the space attribute, he first studied time ripple force. The blue shadow's attacks were violent. Knight Sorrow let the blue shadow attack his defense. Then, he continuously improved the strength of the chi shield and the method to reduce the attack power. Blue Wand didn't summon him. Knight Sorrow just calmed down and cultivated. Bit by bit, he polished away the flaws in the chi shield. After half a month, Knight Sorrow had completely mastered the time ripple chi shield. The blue shadow's full power slash only had 20% of its energy that could hurt Knight Sorrow's body. The two of them used about the same amount of energy. Only R is the original version, hashtag, the other J unspecified currency are all pirated copies. Normally, defense would consume more energy than attack. Now, Knight Sorrow and the blue shadow used the same amount of energy. It could be seen that Knight Sorrow's chi shield was at an extremely high level. When Blue One came to see Knight Sorrow, she just happened to see the blue shadow's full power slash being blocked by Knight Sorrow. Clap. 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 Blue One clapped her hands. Knight Sorrow's defensive fighting skill was too strong. Your Highness is here. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands and greeted. Because all the servants in Blue Wan Palace called the princess Your Highness, Knight Sorrow also called her that. In the Qing Emperor's empire, there were many princes and grandsons. However, only the Blue Qilin Crown Prince and Blue Wan Princess had the right to call her Your Highness. This was allowed by the Qing Emperor. Your chi shield is very powerful. Which expert taught you this? Blue Wan found a place to sit and said. This is a defensive fighting skill that I have been working on recently. I have embarrassed myself in front of Your Highness. Knight Sorrow said. I have been working on it recently. I've researched it myself recently, not bad. Actually, this can't be considered a battle skill. Battle skills are just a general term in the normal world. Battle skills have different names according to their levels. Low-level cultivators use crudely called battle skills. Higher-level ones are called secret skills. Higher-level ones are called mystic skills. Your defensive technique is a true mystic skill, and its level isn't low. Princess Qing Yuan looked at Yishan as she spoke. I really don't know about this. I just feel that I can increase my combat strength. Knight Sorrow said. He understood that the sovereign world was indeed different. The level of cultivation was high. Very few people create mystic skills, and they won't easily teach others. Therefore, mystic skills are rather rare. Normal practitioners can't get them. Blue Wan Princess once again looked at Knight Sorrow in a higher light. Knight Sorrow understood that many people didn't pay attention to energy techniques. In the end, it led to a brute force battle. They relied on their cultivation and didn't increase their combat strength. Chapter 11-13. After that, Princess Qing Yuan explained the situation of the Qing Yuan army to Knight Sorrow. The Qing Yuan army was divided into 4 armies. The rear army was the Imperial Court Army, the left army was the Black Armored Army, the right army was the Flying Feather Army, and the vanguard army was the Thunder Army. There were a total of 4 generals and only 1 commander, and that was Princess Qing-Yuan. #%up, Your Majesty plans to send you to the Thunder Army. Princess Qing-Yuan explained the situation of the Qing-Yuan army and spoke of her thoughts. Sure, there is no problem. Knight Sorrow nodded his head. Okay, as long as you feel that there is no problem. Also, you will be the captain of Your Majesty's guards. When Your Majesty goes to war or when there is no war, you will follow by Your Majesty's side. Princess Qing-Yuan said the second arrangement. I am afraid this is not too good. Knight Sorrow's strength is low. If I charge and break through enemy lines, I will at most die on the battlefield. However, Princess's safety is more important than the sky. Knight Sorrow cannot bear the responsibility. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands and said. Joining an army required one to fight and kill opponents. However, being the captain of the princess's guards was different. It involved more things. Don't worry, we will talk about this later. Follow Your Majesty to the Qing-Yuan army first. After familiarizing yourself with it, we will see what position you can take. Princess Qing-Yuan changed the topic. The Qing-Yuan army's encampment was at Lin Tian Cliff outside the Qing Emperor's city. It was the southern gate of the Qing Emperor's empire. Princess Qing-Yuan brought Zhuo Tingyun and the guards, as well as Knight Sorrow, Hong Yi, and Lan Yi to sit on the teleportation circle in the mansion and teleport to the Qing-Yuan army's encampment at Lin Tian Cliff. When they arrived at their destination, Knight Sorrow saw 4 neat barracks. Those were the 4 armies of the Qing-Yuan army. The situation of the army was different from what Knight Sorrow had imagined. There weren't many soldiers. After probing with his soul power, Knight Sorrow discovered 4 armies, each with only 4,000 soldiers. As if he had seen through Knight Sorrow's thoughts, Zhuo Tingyun opened his mouth. The Green Phoenix army doesn't want trash, they only want elites. That's why there aren't many people, only 17,000. 10 people form a small team, and the leader is a small team leader. 100 people form a large team, and the leader is a large team leader. 1,000 people form a large team, and the leader is a commander. What about the other 1,000? Knight Sorrow nodded at Zhuo Tingyun. It's the Green Phoenix Battalion that this commander commands. It's independent of the 4 armies. Zhuo Tingyun explained to Knight Sorrow once again. Qing-Yuan led a group of people into the command tent and sat down. After a while, a few people came to the tent to pay their respects. Has it been quiet recently? Have there been any movements from the Red Emperor's country and the Dark Abyss? Princess Qing-Yuan asked. The Red Emperor's country has been mobilized from time to time, but there have been no abnormal movements. However, the Dark Abyss's army has shown signs of invading. Even if the princess doesn't return, this subordinate still has to report. A middle-aged man bowed and reported. The middle-aged man was wearing a silver armor. His body was emitting a dense killing intent and his face had a resolute expression. Seems like the war isn't far away. Thunder God General, this time Your Majesty has brought a person to your Thunder God General. Princess Qing-Yuan said to the man who reported the news, who was the Thunder God General. Reporting to the commander, the Thunder God General's organization is complete. We don't need any more people. This subordinate will also seriously recruit new people. The Thunder God General said. In the Green Phoenix Army, there is no nepotism. Your Majesty also won't use any connections. He is Knight Sorrow. Whether or not he is suitable for the Thunder God General is enough. Princess Qing-Yuan said. Facing the Thunder God General, she was also somewhat helpless. The Thunder God General's temperament was like this. It could even be said that he was somewhat old-fashioned. Elder Zhuo, bring Knight Sorrow out for a walk. Tell me about the Thunder God General situation. After explaining her position, Princess Qing-Yuan nodded to Zhuo Tingyun. Zhuo Tingyun bowed and brought Knight Sorrow and the others out of the tent. He then talked about the history of the Green Phoenix Army, military achievements, and rules. In the Green Phoenix Army, only the rank of captain and above could not stay in the barracks. The rest of the soldiers had to stay in the barracks to train and cultivate. Don't blame the Thunder God General for rejecting you. In the Green Phoenix Army, the Thunder God General's fighting strength is the strongest, the most cohesive army, and also the army with the most outstanding military achievements. There were many people who held high positions in the Qing Emperor's imperial court who wanted to send their descendants to the Thunder God General for military achievements. In the end, they were chased away by the Thunder God General. On this point, the Thunder God General will not give face to anyone, including the imperial princes and imperial descendants. Zhua Tingyan said. The commander of the army must be upright and plain-spoken. He must adhere to his principles. Otherwise, how can he convince the masses and lead the army? Knight Sorrow understands this point and also admires it. Knight Sorrow nodded. He understood that the Thunder God General did not want him. In the command tent, the Thunder God General said, "Commander, that person is too young. Although he has the cultivation of a 2-star king at such a young age, this is very impressive. However, the Thunder God General's blood flows like rivers in every war. He might not be able to withstand it." Haha. Thunder God General, you are looking down on him. His name is Knight Sorrow. Since his debut, he has been fighting for fate. He has experienced many battles big and small. Moreover, he was once a commander and has led many world wars. He is not joining the Thunder God General for military achievements. He is truly capable. Do you think your Majesty will joke around with the Thunder God General? Princess Green Phoenix said. She understood that the Thunder God General looked down on Knight Sorrow. If the Thunder God General does not want him, my black armored army will take him. An old man with a thick beard said. He was the Black Armored Army's commander, Zhu Xuanjia. When the Green Phoenix Army was established, the 4 commanders were the commanders that supported the Green Phoenix Army. Therefore, the 4 armies of the Green Phoenix Army had the names of the 4 commanders. No. Thunder God General, bring Knight Sorrow over. This is a military order. As for whether he can become a small captain or a large captain, it will depend on his ability. In the future, he will be an ordinary soldier in the Thunder God General. Your Majesty's relationship with him has nothing to do with the Green Phoenix Army. Princess Green Phoenix said. This subordinate understands. Qin Leitang bowed and said. Then let's go. Bring him over and take a look. Your Majesty is also curious to see how far he can go. Princess Green Phoenix said. This commander will also go take a look. Zhu Xuanjia was very interested in Knight Sorrow. The other 2 commanders also followed. They all wanted to know what was so special about the person that Princess Green Phoenix thought highly of. After the few of them left the tent, they called Knight Sorrow and the other 2 and came to the tent where the Thunder God General of the Green Phoenix Army was. Knight Sorrow, this lord is the Thunder God General, Qin Leitang. The commander wants you to join the Thunder God General. To be honest, this lord does not want you. However, military orders cannot be disobeyed. Now, this lord has a few questions to ask you. If this lord is not satisfied, you can go back to where you came from. Qin Leitang looked at Knight Sorrow and said. Knight Sorrow understands. Commander, please ask. Knight Sorrow said. What is the most important thing in an army? Qin Leitang asked. The soul of the army, morale, unity, and the commander's wisdom. Knight Sorrow said. Tell me. Qin Leitang was stunned for a moment before saying. The soul of the army is the soul of the army. It is also the belief and ideology. Whether it is to protect the homeland or to expand the territory, this is very important. Knight Sorrow looked at Princess Green Phoenix and said. Chapter 11:14. Is there a difference? Zhu Xuanjia asked. Yes. If I'm in my own hometown, I'm only willing to fight to protect my hometown. I'm not willing to destroy the peace of other people's homes in order to expand our territory. Knight Sorrow spoke out his philosophy. Old Zhu, step aside. It's none of your business. What about now? Qin Leitang glanced at Zhu Xuanjia and asked again. To me now, it's fine as long as I obey military orders. No matter why the Qing Yuan army is fighting, I'm fighting to protect the pure land in my heart. The Qing Emperor's dynasty is protecting my hometown. I'm fighting for the Qing Emperor's dynasty. It's that simple, Knight Sorrow said. Actually, I think that obedience is the most important thing for an army. I'm satisfied with your answer just now. Besides, you also mentioned unity and the wisdom of a commander. I'd like to hear your opinion. Qin Leitang nodded and said. Unity is very important in a battle. A battle between armies is different from individual battles. We have to lean on each other's backs and protect each other. We have to be able to block the attacks for our brothers behind us. Knight Sorrow thought of his own god-slaying team. His eyes were filled with longing. Blocking the attacks for our brothers. This is a little difficult. However, the concept is good. Qin Leitang nodded. This is not a concept. I once led a team. Void Inquiry stage experts could kill Venerable Realm experts. Venerable Realm experts could join the battlefield of Sacred Realm experts because everyone was united and could block the attacks for their brothers. In every battle, there would be people who would be severely injured but none of them died. I'm sorry. Knight Sorrow talked too much. Knight Sorrow shook his head, trying to get rid of the thoughts brought by the god-slaying team. Original. Qin Leitang and the others fell into deep thought. After a while, Qin Leitang looked at Knight Sorrow again. Tell me more about the wisdom of a commander. The heart of a commander is the heart of an army. The will of a commander is the will of an army. To be frank, a general can't exhaust 1,000 soldiers to death. This is what it means. Knight Sorrow said. After hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the other two commanders, Bai Jinting of the court army and Lin Feiyu of the Flying Feather army, turned around. Knight Sorrow's words were too harsh. They were waiting for Qin Leitang to lose his temper. Zhu Xuanjia gave Knight Sorrow a thumbs up. Qin Leitang was not angry. Instead, he was very calm. It's not pleasant but it's also true. As for your position, it's up to you. The Thunder Army has a challenge system. If an ordinary soldier can defeat a squad leader, then the position will be swapped. If the squad leader defeats a squad leader, then the position will be swapped. As for the commander position, you have to succeed in the challenge and the commander feels that you can do it in other aspects. Only then can you take up the position. If you don't have enough strategy and ability, then you can only be the deputy commander. The soldier on duty explained the rules of the Thunder Army. Knight Sorrow understands. Although I can be an ordinary soldier, if I want to do more things, then I need a position. Knight Sorrow will challenge now. Knight Sorrow said as he followed Lai Kong closely behind him. Okay. Qin Leitang nodded. His impression of Knight Sorrow had changed. He didn't hate him. Instead, he admired him. Knight Sorrow, only the position of a squad leader and above can leave the camp freely when you're not on duty. It's up to you. Princess Qing Yuan said. Inform the Massacre God's territory to gather at the challenge arena. Qin Leitang ordered the soldier on duty. Following a special bugle call, the Massacre God's territory, one of the 4 territories of the Thunder Army, gathered. Zhu Xuanjia curled his lips. He was dissatisfied with Qin Leitang because the Massacre God's territory was the strongest territory in the Thunder Army. Meng Dan, we have a new member in the Thunder Army. He wants to challenge now. Arrange for the squad leaders to step forward. Qin Leitang said to the commander standing at the front of the Massacre God's territory. First squad leaders, line up in front of the arena. Meng Dan shouted to the 1,000 people behind him. Following Meng Dan's command, 10 people stood in front of the arena. Knight Sorrow, you can enter the arena now. Qin Leitang turned to look at Knight Sorrow and said. If you can't pick a weak one, I can call out 10 squad leaders for you to choose from. Meng Dan looked at Night Sorrow and said with arrogance and contempt. There's no need. If you can do anything. If you can't, then there's no point in changing. Night Sorrow walked to the arena and pointed to the leftmost person among the 10. Massacre God's Territory's first squad leader Ah Chio. Ah Chio walked out. My name is Night Sorrow. Sorry for the offense. Night Sorrow cupped his fists at Ah Chio. It's nothing. If you have the ability, my squad leader position is yours. Ah Chio cupped his fists in return. Ah Chio, beat him up. Let him know that not just anyone can challenge the squad leaders of the Massacre God's Territory. The 1,000-man squad of the Massacre God's Territory roared. The 9 squad leaders standing below the arena also puffed up their cheeks. They wanted to laugh, but they couldn't. Ah Chio was the strongest among the squad leaders in the Massacre God's Territory. His strength was close to that of a squad leader. The Massacre God's Territory was the strongest in the Thunder Army, and the first squad was the strongest squad. Night Sorrow's expression didn't change. He knew that this was the army. They were united and ostracized outsiders. He was an outsider. Even if he wasn't a strong dragon, he had to challenge the local tyrant. Meng Dan waved his arm and everyone quieted down. Night Sorrow, the Thunder Army's challenge system is to stop when it's appropriate. However, sometimes, when everyone's cultivation is similar, there will be serious injuries and deaths. Therefore, you have to be mentally prepared. If you can't take it, just admit defeat. Ah Chio is a 1-star peak king. When he just became a 1-star king, he had the battle record of killing a 2-star king, Meng Dan said. He was a little annoyed with Night Sorrow, but he wasn't willing to bully a young man and cause him to fall. Thank you, Lord Commander, for your advice. Night Sorrow understands. Squad leader Ah Chio, please enlighten me. Night Sorrow nodded at Meng Dan and cupped his fists at Ah Chio. At this moment, the Green Phoenix Sovereign and the others also sat down on the chairs that the soldiers brought over to watch. Qin Leitang, just based on his calmness in the face of the pressure of 1,000 soldiers, you have profited greatly, Zhu Xuanjia said after sitting down. Qin Leitang nodded. At this moment, he understood that Night Sorrow should have experienced a lot. Normal people would have been shocked. Then I won't be polite. A broadsword appeared in Ah Chio's hand. His body flashed and rushed towards Night Sorrow. The broadsword was covered in flames. Night Sorrow restrained the energy of Split Sky and waved it to block. Their weapons clashed. Night Sorrow didn't move, but Ah Chio retreated a few steps. Ah Chio, who retreated, circled Night Sorrow and attacked rapidly. The flame energy sealed off the surroundings of Night Sorrow. After waving Split Sky to block 10 consecutive sword attacks, Night Sorrow swung his right hand. The energy in his body burst forth as he executed the space-revolving dragon kill and rushed towards Ah Chio. To defend against 10 moves, Night Sorrow did it out of respect for an old soldier. He didn't want Ah Chio to lose too badly. Now, it was time for him to make a move. The space-revolving dragon kill supported by the will of space and the rules of space was extremely fast. Before Ah Chio's broadsword could fully exert its energy, it was hit head-on. Chapter 11:15. After being hit by Night Sorrow's attack, Chio's expression changed drastically. Night Sorrow's attack was explosive, and it had a strong penetrating power. His arms had already lost all feeling from Night Sorrow's attack, and he could only use the power in his energy center to resist. If Night Sorrow's energy invaded his organs and energy center, then he would be in big trouble, and he would lose immediately. While Ah Chio was resisting, the energy in Night Sorrow's attack changed, and it turned into the power of time. He was caught off guard. Even if he was prepared, Ah Chio might not be able to defend against it. His body was sent flying, and he fell out of the arena. At this moment, the soldiers from the Massacre God's Territory who were waving their weapons and cheering for Ah Chio were all silent. The situation in the arena had changed too quickly. Thank you for saving me some face. I am not his opponent. This is not embarrassing. Ah Chio shook his arms and bowed to Night Sorrow. Captain Ah Chio, thank you for letting me win. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and cupped them to Ah Chio. Good. You have won. You are now a captain. Ah Chio, you don't have to change your position for the time being. I will make arrangements for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, do you still want to challenge? Qin Leitang looked at Night Sorrow and asked. He was very shocked inside his heart. Maybe the soldiers with low cultivation could not understand the situation in the arena, but the generals and commanders with high cultivation could naturally see it clearly. They started to defend continuously because Night Sorrow had saved Ah Chio some face. The two of them were not on the same level at all. I still want to challenge. Night Sorrow nodded his head. Qin Leitang nodded his head at Meng Dan. Captain, step into the ranks. Captain, step forward in front of the arena. Meng Dan shouted at the people from the Massacre God's territory behind her. Bang! 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 10 captains dressed in black armor stood in front of the arena. Night Sorrow, you have no choice this time. The 10 captains of the Massacre God's territory are all here. Let's see who you choose, Meng Dan said. The only original edition, whose hashtag unspecified currency he is a thief, edition, I'm sorry, Night Sorrow didn't mean to offend you all, but today I want to fight for a better position. I will be a good soldier, and if I win, I believe I will be a good captain. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards the 10 captains in front of the stage. This is the rule of the Qing One army, we will all respect it. Standing on the left side of the stage, a man wearing black armor spoke. I'll leave it to you then, Night Sorrow said to the man who spoke. Are you sure you want to choose me? It's better to be cautious, the black-armored man said. The Qing One army was the left and the right. Those who stood on the left were all people with high status and strength. As cultivators, no one would make a mistake. Therefore, the black-armored man asked. As an iron-blooded soldier, he didn't want Night Sorrow to make a mistake, so he emphasized it again. Night Sorrow nodded. He also knew that this black-armored man was the strongest and was already a 5-star king. He wanted to fight against this 5-star king. After joining the Qing One army, one had to lead the soldiers. Prestige was very important. If one won unfairly, then no one would be convinced, and it would be very difficult to lead the subordinates. Therefore, Night Sorrow chose Ah Chio during the small captain challenge. Now, he chose this black-armored man. Wu Jia, go. Night Sorrow, if you win against Wu Jia, then you will be the captain of the Massacre God's leader. No one will be unconvinced, and this commander will also acknowledge you, Meng Dan said. Wu Jia's feet shook, and a halo shot out from under his feet. He then landed on the stage. You are a 2-star king. You have the courage to challenge me. Even if you lose, this captain will still acknowledge you. Thank you Captain Wu Jia for your high regard. Please enlighten me. Night Sorrow's right hand spread out and nodded towards Wu Jia. He knew that this was a crucial battle. If he won, then he would have a firm foothold in the Massacre God's leader and the Qing One army. Wu Jia waved his hand and pulled out the battle halberd on his back. It was also a long weapon. Take this. Wu Jia didn't waste any words, and his battle halberd chopped down towards Night Sorrow. Instead of chopping, it was more like smashing down. Wu Jia was an earth element intermediate king. His attack was powerful and dense. Night Sorrow's will of time and time law supported the space rend. He executed a time vibration wave and pierced towards Wu Jia's battle halberd. Wang! The two's weapons clashed, and vibrating sounds could be heard. Visible ripples spread out in all directions. Even though Night Sorrow had time acceleration and time energy vibration, he was still forced back 2 steps by Wu Jia's battle halberd. Fall! Wu Jia roared, and his arms exerted strength again, wanting to suppress Night Sorrow. Not necessarily. The time energy was exhausted, and Night Sorrow's bloodline talent erupted. The will of time and the will of space quickly switched, and the will of space supported the space revolving dragon kill was released. Pung! Night Sorrow space revolving dragon kill landed on Wujia's battle halberd, and it was forced back. After breaking through Wujia's powerful attack, Night Sorrow's feet shook, and his body moved forward. The space rend continued to thrust forward, and the will and energy switched again. Wujia brandished his halberd, and their weapons clashed once more. However, Night Sorrow's moves were one after another. 2 types of energy, 3 types of energy, connected seamlessly, and once again repelled Wujia. This is a beast. Qin Leitang, you name your price. Give this person to me. Zhu Xuanjia said excitedly. Move aside, this is none of your business. Tang Hu. Zhu Xuanjia, if you don't want to waste any more time, send this guest off. Qin Leitang roared at a red-clothed man who was watching from the side. It was Tang Hu, the second commander of the Thunder Army. At this moment, almost all the soldiers of the Thunder Army had come to watch. Old Zhu, stop talking. He won't give it to you. Enchanting said with a smile. At this moment, on the stage, Night Sorrow and Wujia were attacking each other. The battle was very intense. All the soldiers of the Thunder Army were watching. Night Sorrow's cultivation was a 2-star king, and almost everyone could see it. Some people couldn't see Wujia's cultivation, but they all knew that Wujia was a 5-star king. Now that a 2-star king and a 5-star king were fighting so intensely, many people couldn't understand what was going on. You are very strong, but this is not enough. You will be the first to run out of energy. Wujia roared. Wujia's words were reasonable, and Night Sorrow understood it. Everyone understood it. Only by ending the battle quickly would Night Sorrow have a chance. If the battle continued, the loser would be Night Sorrow. This is enough to prove his strength. He has enough prestige to be a squad leader. If he didn't pick the strongest Wujia, he would have no problem being a squad leader. Lin Feiyu said. Not necessarily. Princess Qing Luan looked at the stage and said softly. She had seen the power of Night Sorrow's 3 battle skills. The current Night Sorrow hadn't reached this level yet. While Princess Qing Luan was speaking, Night Sorrow used his killer move. His bloodline talent burst forth, and Spatial Rend was released. With the support of the will of space and space law, as well as the will of time, Night Sorrow's Spatial Rend was extremely fast. It instantly slashed towards Wujia. Seal. Wujia's expression changed. It was too late to dodge. He could only use the will of Earth to support the Earth energy and block the Spatial Rend. At this moment, Night Sorrow changed his direction. Spatial Dragon Kill blasted towards Wujia's side. Chapter 11:16. Wujia, who was using all his strength to block Night Sorrow's Space Rend, took out a shield with his left hand and defended with all his might. However, Night Sorrow's Space Revolving Dragon Slash was a spiral-penetrating attack. Wujia could not block it at all and was sent flying. The moment Wujia was sent flying, Night Sorrow used Soul Destruction Slash. The deep purple crescent blade slashed towards Wujia's head. At this moment, all the monarchs and commanders were shocked. Soul attack techniques were very rare and almost impossible to find. Block. Wujia's soul power burst forth and blocked Night Sorrow's crescent blade in front of his head. While Wujia was using all his strength to block the crescent blade, Night Sorrow used Sky Rend. Not only was it supported by the will of time, but it was also supported by the will of space. Night Sorrow's Sky Rend seemed to pass through space and stopped in front of Wujia's throat. The battle ended. Night Sorrow kept the crescent blade. I lost. Wujia's expression was a little ugly. A 5-star king had used all his strength and lost to a 2-star king. He found it hard to accept. Sorry. Night Sorrow took 2 steps back and bowed to Wujia. It's nothing. Stand up where you fall. You will be the leader. I will submit. Wu Jia cupped his hands to Night Sorrow. He was sincerely convinced because if it was a life and death battle, his head would have fallen to the ground. Good, very good. Qin Leitang clapped his hands. Princess Qing Luan nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was a 2-star king and won against a 5-star king. This made her feel very shocked. Although Wu Jia had just become a 5-star king, Night Sorrow's battle record was not bad even for a 4-star king. Night Sorrow, do you still want to challenge? Before Qin Leitang could ask, Zhu Xuanjia asked. Chapter 4. Section 4 Inch to challenge Captain Wu Jia. Night Sorrow has overestimated himself. I will not continue. Night Sorrow bowed to Princess Qing Wan and the other generals who were watching. Night Sorrow, if you are the leader, do you have anything to say to your brothers? Enchanting asked Night Sorrow after waving his hand to let Wu Jia return to the team. Yes. Night Sorrow nodded. Qin Leitang extended his right hand to Night Sorrow, inviting Night Sorrow to speak. Yishan turned around and looked at the people from Massacre God's territory and the other 3 territories. Looking at all of you, I thought of the brothers who fought alongside me. I don't know which team I will be assigned to and who I will fight alongside. I will not make any promises to anyone. I will not guarantee that all of my brothers will survive on the battlefield. If all of them survive, that is just a hope. Only the commander's orders can decide the outcome of the battle. However, I can promise that when I, Night Sorrow, participate in the battle, when you charge, you will definitely see my figure. When you retreat, turn around and I will definitely be behind you. Night Sorrow said. At this moment, Princess Qing Luan stood up and took the lead to clap. The other generals also clapped. Soon after, Massacre Gods and the other 3 leaders also clapped. Night Sorrow's words had infected their hearts. All soldiers needed such a comrade and leader. How is General Leitang? Princess Qing Luan looked at Qin Leitang and asked. Very good. These are the soldiers our Leitang army needs. Meng Dan, Massacre Gods has a complete organization. Don't move them for the time being. You don't have an assistant now, so let Night Sorrow work with you. I will leave him to you. Qin Leitang looked at Meng Dan and said. Meng Dan, you are brave but lacking in strategy. In the future, listen to Night Sorrow's opinions more. In addition, Night Sorrow will leave the Leitang army for a month to familiarize himself with the situation. A month later, he will take up a position in Massacre Gods and also the captain of your Majesty's guards. If there is a military order, he will be there. Princess Qing Luan reminded Meng Dan and also instructed Qin Leitang. We understand. Qin Leitang and Meng Dan cupped their hands. Ah Chiu, bring Vice Commander Knight to rest. Generals and Massacre Gods captain will stay behind. The rest of you can disperse. Qin Leitang gave the order. At this moment, Zhu Xuanjia, Lin Feiyu, and Bai Jinting bowed to Princess Qing Luan and left. The matter had already been settled. Even if they stayed behind, they would not be able to bring Night Sorrow away. In the main tent of the Leitang army, Princess Qing Luan's seat was in the middle. Qin Leitang's seat was slightly to the side. On the other side sat the generals and captains. Everyone has seen Night Sorrow's strength and spirit. In the future, he will be our brother. Do not reject him. Massacre God's captain cannot investigate his brother. Tang Hu, you bring people to investigate. I want to know everything about Night Sorrow's past. What kind of abilities and specialties he has are the most important. Qin Leitang said to Tang Hu. No need. Your Majesty knows that you will do this. Therefore, his information is here. He is someone that your Majesty brought back under the orders of my father. However, you all know that there is nothing special about the Qing Wan army. He is just a normal vice commander. Qing Wan threw a piece of information to Qin Leitang. Qin Leitang looked at it seriously. Because there were many pages of information, he saw all the records about Night Sorrow. He knew that many of them were absolute secrets. He has commanded many battles and has also been a commander. Meng Dan, you really need to learn from him. His ability and talent are not fake. You all should not touch this information. Qin Leitang returned the information to Princess Qing Wan. Princess Qing Wan waved her hand and the information turned into ashes. Commander and General, don't worry. Perhaps I originally rejected outsiders. However, he said it well. As long as we charge, he will definitely be at the front and retreat behind. Just based on this point, I admire him. Massacre God's captain needs such a brother. I wholeheartedly approve of him. If his cultivation increases again, I will have to give up my position as commander. Meng Dan stood up and said. His arrival will only bring benefits to Massacre God's captain. Princess Qing Wan said. After saying a few words, Princess Qing Wan left. Chiu brought Night Sorrow, Hong Yi, and Lanning to a tent. Deputy Commander, our Massacre God's captain level tent originally didn't have a deputy commander. Therefore, Deputy Commander can only rest here first. Later on, the brothers will settle it. Captain Chiu is too polite. I didn't come to Qing Wan Legion to enjoy. I am very sorry about today's matter. Night Sorrow nodded towards Hong Yi and Lanning. After letting the two of them pack up, he cupped his hands towards Chiu. Deputy Commander, if you say so, it's meaningless. The Massacre God's leader is a true fighter. No one will care about such trivial matters. Today, Chiu has broadened my horizons. I even have some understanding of the concept of battle. I have to thank Deputy Commander, Chiu said with a smile. At night, Meng Dan brought the 10 captains of Massacre God's captain to Night Sorrow's tent. Seeing them, Night Sorrow cupped his hands and greeted them. Cultivation aside, these people were all hot-blooded men that needed to be respected. You might not be used to it. Slowly, you will get used to it. In the future, everyone will live and die together. There won't be so much etiquette. Meng Dan said with a smile. Then Night Sorrow won't be polite. It seems like Captain Wu Jia is a person who likes to drink. So am I. Night Sorrow looked at Wu Jia who was holding 2 wine jugs and said. You too. Will it work? Wu Jia placed the wine jugs on the table. His eyes were filled with doubt. Chapter 11:17. Of course. Commander Meng, can we drink in the military camp? Night Sorrow looked at Meng Dan and asked. Yes. Even if you drink too much, you can just circulate your energy once the order is given. But when you drink, you cannot act shamelessly. You are not allowed to circulate your energy, Meng Dan said with a smile. That's good. I have gotten to know everyone today. Night Sorrow is really happy. I will not say anything. Then, let me toast to my brothers. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards Meng Dan and the others. Good. Come, go to the warehouse of the 1st Brigade and get more wine. Bring more wine. Wu Jia shouted at the patrolling soldiers in the distance. He patted the wine jugs and said, I brought wine today because I felt that you all would drink tea. That would be boring. So, this wine is for myself. The soldiers were very fierce. A group of patrolling soldiers directly brought over 20 jugs of wine. Night Sorrow, this commander really admires you. We cannot simply ask about your matters, but the commander said that you have commanded battles before. He wants to learn from you. Later on, this commander wants to ask you for advice. After drinking a few bowls of wine, Meng Dan said. If I say that the battles I experienced in the past were small skirmishes, that would be disrespectful to my former brothers. But the low-level world cannot be compared to the supreme world. Night Sorrow still wants to learn from all of you, Night Sorrow said. Your words are honest. I, Wu Jia, like it. Wu Jia took his wine bowl and raised it towards Night Sorrow. As they drank, everyone became more casual. Meng Dan and the 10 captains also knew what to ask and what not to ask. After drinking for 4 hours, Meng Dan brought Wu Jia and the other captains who were drunk and dizzy and left. Although they all caught Night Sorrow and forced him to drink, they were all dizzy. Night Sorrow was still fine. Night Sorrow's willpower and time attribute had entered the king's realm. His body had changed, and his body was almost filled with crystals. How could he get drunk when he drank? This guy is too much of a beast. He's strong, and his alcohol tolerance is also ridiculously high. Wu Jia, you're no match for him, said Kuan Ji, the captain of the second platoon. Night Sorrow is indeed not using his energy, but you guys don't know this. His body is tyrannical, and the strength of his weapon is astonishing. Naturally, his alcohol tolerance is high. It's impossible to make him drunk. Black Jia's tongue was a little big. The next day, when Night Sorrow was practicing as usual, Meng Dan came. You sure are hard-working. Let's go. Let's move to another place. Last night, this commander arranged a new tent for you. Your subordinates will also have a place to stay, Meng Dan said to Night Sorrow. Thank you, Commander. Night Sorrow cupped his hands. You're still so polite. In our massacring God's territory, when there's no war, we're all brothers. We drink and chat casually. When there's a war, we just have to abide by the war orders. Like now, you can call me Big Brother Meng. Meng Dan said with a smile. Soon after, Meng Dan brought Night Sorrow to a new big tent. It was made from the skin of an unknown demonic beast that Night Sorrow didn't know. On both sides of the big tent, there were smaller tents. Those were the accommodations for his subordinates. After arranging for Night Sorrow's accommodations, Meng Dan brought Night Sorrow to the soldiers' training ground and watched everyone cultivate. After going to war, no one knows if they can come back alive. Therefore, it's especially important to cultivate diligently. Usually, the captains, platoon leaders, and commanders will give some pointers to the soldiers. Some martial arts that aren't restricted by the sect will also be imparted. If it's convenient, you can also give some pointers. Meng Dan said to Night Sorrow. I will. Night Sorrow nodded. In the following days, Night Sorrow familiarized himself with the members of the massacring God's territory. If not, he would soak in the training ground and cultivate with everyone. Night Sorrow wasn't stingy in giving pointers. Gradually, Night Sorrow became familiar with everyone. Meng Dan was very happy with this situation. What he was most worried about was that Night Sorrow was young. Coupled with his strength, he wouldn't fit in with the group. Being young and hot-headed was a common problem for many cultivators. Night Sorrow was a little over 100 years old. In the world of cultivators, he was too young. Qin Leitang also frequently looked for Meng Dan to understand the situation. Sometimes, he would also take the initiative to tell Night Sorrow some of the history of the Thunderbolt Army. This helped Night Sorrow integrate into the Thunderbolt Army. Meng Dan and the rest didn't know about Night Sorrow's situation. However, Qin Leitang was clear about the importance of Night Sorrow to the Green Phoenix Army and to the Qing Emperor's empire. He also admired this kind of determined and ambitious young man. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Night Sorrow knew that he might have to leave and report to the Green Phoenix Princess residence. He reckoned that he wouldn't be able to push away that guard captain. Before leaving, Night Sorrow planned to do something for the brothers of the massacring God's territory. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow drew out the joint attack formation diagram. Since he was the deputy commander, he had to fulfill his responsibility. After drawing the formation diagram, Night Sorrow found Meng Dan and explained the joint attack formation diagram to him. Very good, very exquisite. Our massacring God's territory's battle formation is a ring-shaped battle formation, a triangular battle formation. Compared to your joint attack formation, it seems too crude. Meng Dan excitedly patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. I might have to go to the princess residence to be the guard captain. I will try to push this off. I reckon that it will be hard to push it off. I can't stay here for a long time. I can't do much for the brothers. Night Sorrow said. I also hope that brother will always be here. However, the commander's words are battle orders. We must obey. If you have time, come over. Big brother's tent is here. My home is below the heaven's edge. Many of our Green Phoenix Army's generals have their homes below the heaven's edge. Big brother will also help you arrange a private residence later. Meng Dan knew that Knight Sorrow was going to be the guard captain of the Green Phoenix Princess Guards. That day in the commander's tent, Green Phoenix Princess had already mentioned it. He also knew that this was a rare opportunity for many people. However, Knight Sorrow really wasn't willing to do it. Carrot original first post Knight Sorrow's prediction was very accurate. After a month, Zhua Tingyin came. He was under Green Phoenix Princess orders to let Knight Sorrow take up a post in the Green Phoenix Princess residence. After bidding farewell to the Thunder Commander, Meng Dan, Wu Jia, and the others, Knight Sorrow brought Hong Yi and Lanning back to the Green Phoenix residence with Zhua Tingyin. After letting Hong Yi and Lanning rest, Zhua Tingyin brought Knight Sorrow to the main hall of the Green Phoenix Palace to meet Green Phoenix Princess. How was your month in the Thunder Army? Sitting on the main seat, Green Phoenix Princess who was meditating opened her eyes. Very good. The brothers in the Massacre God's leader are very easy to get along with. The guard captain of Her Highness the Princess is too important. I'm afraid I'm not up to the task. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands and said. You idiot. The vice commander of the Thunder Army is very good. However, how can it be compared to the guard captain of Her Highness the Princess? Not to mention the difference in freedom, the guard captain can do a lot of things without anyone asking. Do you understand? Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Zhua Tingyin blew his beard and glared at him. That's right. You need to cultivate. You have a world behind you. Therefore, a lot of things require time. Your post in my princess residence is indeed more casual. Green Phoenix Princess said. Chapter 11:18. Thank you, Your Highness. Knight Sorrow understood Princess Qing Yuan's intention at this time. She wanted to give him more space. This command token is the same as the Thunder Army's command token. When it lights up, it means that Your Majesty is looking for you. This command token is also the command token of Qing Yuan Palace's guard captain. It will be more convenient for you to move around the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Also, if you have any problems in the 9 regions world that you can't solve, you can come find Your Majesty at any time. Princess Qing Yuan handed a command token to Knight Sorrow and said. Before leaving the Massacre God's domain, Qin Leitang gave Knight Sorrow a command token. When the Thunder Army gathered, the command token would vibrate and light up. The command tokens were all made with special methods. There was a mother-child formation inside. Knight Sorrow understands. Knight Sorrow nodded towards Princess Qing Yuan. Bai Ling, bring Knight Sorrow to his residence. Then, bring Your Majesty's personal guards to meet with Knight Sorrow. Princess Qing Yuan said to her maid Bai Ling. Bai Ling bowed towards Princess Qing Yuan and brought Knight Sorrow to a small standalone building on the left side of Qing Yuan Palace. The size of the standalone building was about the same as Knight Sorrow's residence in the city in the sky. There were artificial mountains and lakes in the small building. The scenery was very beautiful. This is the residence Her Highness arranged for you. When you are not in the barracks, you can stay here. When the barracks summons you, you can directly take the princess residence's teleportation array. It is also more convenient. I will bring the guards over. You two can meet first. Bai Ling brought Knight Sorrow to this residence and left. Leisure residence, this small building's name is not bad. Young master, I have always been worried about a problem. That is, how long will we serve the Qing Emperor's dynasty? It can't be a lifetime, right? Lanning said. She had always wanted to ask this question. However, it was not suitable to talk about it in the barracks. No, in the Qing Emperor's dynasty's army, the service time is 1,000 years. In other words, after 1,000 years, you can propose to retire. The divine Shao monarch mentioned this before. He was like this in the Green Scale Army. He served for 3,000 years. 1,000 years was because he made a promise with the Green Scale Crown Prince. The other 2,000 years of military service in exchange for some cultivation resources. Knight said. That's good. If we are lucky, there won't be any wars for 1,000 years. Red smiled. Red E. Merit can be exchanged for resources, and resources can be exchanged for resources, and can exchange merit can be exchanged. And merit can be exchanged. To merit can be used. Yi Shang understood some things. The Azure Supreme, the Arch dynasty, had a vast territory and had the same top-notch forces on 3 sides. The 2 sides often had wars. One side was the Red Emperor's country. The other side was the Dark Abyss. The Dark Abyss was different from the other top forces in the world of reincarnation. They were all creatures of darkness. It was similar to when Night Sorrow was in the Eastern Xian domain. However, the master of the Dark Abyss was very domineering. He was called the Death Dominator. He comprehended the death attribute and death will. He was one of the top forces in the world of reincarnation. He was on the same level as the Qing Emperor and the Red Emperor. The Red Emperor's country and the Qing Emperor's dynasty were the same. They were very powerful and had many subordinate worlds. This kind of power dispute caused many wars. It was also very cruel. However, because they restrained each other, the Qing Emperor, the Red Emperor, and the Dark Dominator, such as the Sky Dominator, would not ask about the development of the forces under their command. They would not ask about it unless it threatened the life and death of their own forces. The monarch would not easily participate in the war, which made the situation more stable. That is to say, after 1,000 years, we will have freedom. We can freely choose to withdraw or continue to serve. But in this way, will the Qing Emperor's dynasty continue to protect the 9 Heavens World Group? Red asked. Normally, it won't. If we have great contributions to the Qing Emperor's dynasty, then it's another matter. It mainly depends on whether our 9 Heavens World Group has the ability to protect ourselves. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You came to serve the Qing Emperor's dynasty because you don't want the 9 Heavens World Group to suffer because of you. The trouble you caused, you have to bear it. The development of the 9 Heavens World Group has nothing to do with you. Red said. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Night Sorrow exhaled and said. At this time, Bai Ling brought Qing Luan's personal attendants. They were Iron 1 to Iron 4 and Silver 1 to Silver 4. Princess Qing Luan had many guards under her command. It could even be said that the 2 guards at the entrance of Qing Luan Palace were at the peak of the intermediate king. Bai Ling brought Princess Qing Luan's personal guard when she went out. Night Sorrow was actually the captain of the personal guard. The only genuine, for he's a thief. Version. Night Sorrow politely invited them to sit down and drink tea. My guard captain is actually just a title. I don't know anything. When the time comes, I'll have to ask brothers and sisters for guidance. Captain, you're too polite. You're now the vice commander of the most elite army in the Green Phoenix Army. We all know and admire you. We all live around here. If there's anything, Captain can just call us. Silver 1 said. Iron 1 also nodded. They were the small leaders of the male and female personal guard teams. If they recognized Night Sorrow, it was equivalent to the entire personal guard recognizing him. Okay, I'll live here when I have nothing to do. Everyone can come over when you're free and talk about cultivation and battle. We can all improve together. Night Sorrow said. Silver 1 and Iron 1 stood up and brought the few people beside them to bow to Night Sorrow. They were originally worried that an overbearing boss would appear, but Night Sorrow's attitude made them feel a lot more at ease. After the personal guard left, Hong Yi and Lanning tidied up their living quarters. The main pavilion was naturally where Night Sorrow rested and cultivated. They lived on both sides. After calming down, Night Sorrow refined pills when he had nothing to do. He refined another batch of Yun's spirit pills. After refining, Night Sorrow gave Lanning a batch of pills. Take them back to Aunt Fei. Also, tell North Star to come over. I want to help her upgrade her weapons and armor. Night Sorrow kept his promise in his heart. If he didn't solve it, he would feel pressured. Lanning took the pills and Night Sorrow's guard leader token and left. The price of using the teleportation array was very high. Normal cultivators wouldn't be able to afford it. It was measured in Saint Spirit stones. However, Night Sorrow was rich now and had already given it to Hong Yi and Lanning. When Night Sorrow calmed down, Princess Qing Wan and Zhuo Tingyun arrived at the Qing Wan Army's Thunder Corps camp. Greetings, Commander. Qin Leitang, Meng Dan, and Tang Hu bowed. What are you guys arguing about? Princess Qing Wan heard the argument before she even reached the tent. Commander, it's like this. Night Sorrow gave Massacre God Leader some combination array diagrams. Tang Hu wanted it, but Meng Dan didn't give it to him. Now he's confused. Qin Leitang said. Chapter 11-19. How is the effect of the joint attack formation? Princess Qing Wan asked. The effect is very strong. It is much stronger than the ring-shaped battle formation and the triangular battle formation, Qin Leitang said. The joint attack formation, in our Qing Emperor's dynasty, only the Qing Emperor's army has it. That was researched by my father. The other armies, even the Green Qilan army, do not have it. Bring your majesty to take a look, Princess Qing Wan said. Qin Leitang and the others brought Princess Qing Wan to the training grounds of the Massacre God's territory and watched the soldiers train. At this moment, the soldiers of the Massacre God's territory were training in pairs. It was a sparring match between the soldiers and the captains. The soldiers used the joint attack formation. Although their cultivation was not high enough, they could still fight against the leaders who had higher cultivation than them. 3 to 6 people joint attack, very good. After watching for a while, Princess Qing Wan returned to the large tent of the Thunder Army. Commander, I feel that since it is a method to increase one's strength, we should let the brothers master it. Tang Hu bowed towards Princess Qing Wan. Tang Hu, it is right for you to think about the brothers under you, but the crux of the problem is that Night Sorrow is the deputy commander of the Massacre God's territory. He only needs to be responsible for the soldiers of the Massacre God's territory. If everyone wants it, the commanders of the Imperial Army and the Black Armored Army all want it. Wouldn't that be a mess? Princess Qing Wan looked at Tang Hu and said. I think so too. The soldiers of the Massacring God's territory are lucky to be able to learn this joint attack formation. They are lucky to have Yi Shang as their vice commander. The others can't ask for anything. Of course, they are all soldiers of the Thunder Army. Qin Leitang voiced his opinion. Let's not talk about this matter anymore. Don't make things difficult for Night Sorrow. Princess Qing Wan made a decision. Tang Hu could only nod his head. In the Qing Wan army, Princess Qing Wan's words were the highest order. After that, Princess Qing Wan and Zhuo Tingyun went to the training grounds to take a look. With this joint attack formation, the battle strength of the Massacre God's territory will increase by a lot. Zhuo Tingyun nodded his head as he looked. Meng Dan, tell the Massacre God's territory soldiers that this joint attack formation cannot be leaked. If anyone leaks it, they will be executed without mercy. Princess Qing Wan gave the military order to Meng Dan, who was following behind her. Yes. Meng Dan bowed and said. After that, Princess Qing Wan and Zhuo Tingyun left the Thunder Army. After Princess Qing Wan returned to Qing Wan Palace, she was stunned for a moment. Then, she quickly walked into Qing Wan Palace's main hall and bowed. Qing Wan greets Imperial Father. Why has Imperial Father come to daughter's place? What's wrong? Can't Imperial Father come and see you? Where have you been? Qing Emperor sat at the head of the table and said while drinking tea. I just went to the Qing Wan army's encampment to deal with some matters. Qing Wan bowed and said. Sit down, and talk. What happened in the military camp? Qing Emperor looked at Qing Wan and asked. It's Night Sorrow. He taught the Massacre God's territories soldiers the joint attack formation. The commanders of the other territories also want it and have already dealt with it. Oh right, I haven't told Imperial Father yet. Night Sorrow relied on his own ability to become a vice commander. Qing Wan sat down and said with a smile. Vice commander. Imperial Father remembers that the lowest commander in Qing Wan army is an intermediate king, right? Can he be a vice commander? Qing Emperor stroked his beard and asked. Qing Wan army is in the Qing Wan army. The Qing Wan army uses a challenge system. Father knows this. After he challenged the strongest team leader in the Qing Wan army, he challenged the strongest team leader. That team leader was a 5-star sovereign, but he was defeated by him. Therefore, I made him the deputy commander. He has commanded the War of the Realms before, so he has no problem with his intelligence. The deputy commander position is suitable for him. Qing Wan reported Yi Shan's situation to the Qing Emperor. Interesting, a bit interesting. You make the arrangements. This person is very important to our Qing Emperor's dynasty. We must make the best use of him and not neglect his cultivation. Alright, just pretend that Imperial Father never came. Qing Emperor stood up and left Qing Wan Palace's main hall. Night Sorrow was in the small courtyard in front of Leisure House. He waved Sky Splitter and cultivated his battle skills. Right now, his energy and willpower were restrained, constantly releasing the battle skills he had grasped. After leaving Qing Wan Palace's main hall, Qing Emperor waved his hand. After the golden crown on his head turned into a purple crown, he walked to the side of Leisure House's small courtyard with his hands behind his back and watched Night Sorrow cultivate his battle skills. Because he was too engrossed in his cultivation, Night Sorrow didn't notice Qing Emperor's arrival. Only when Hong Yi, who made tea, coughed did Night Sorrow wake up from his concentration. Seeing Qing Emperor, Night Sorrow cupped his hands and slightly bowed. Night Sorrow greets Elder. Young man, you're not bad. It's already hard to grasp a few types of force exertion techniques, and it's even harder to combine them. If you can combine the time attribute and the space attribute, that would be even more impressive. Actually, the compatibility between the time attribute and the space attribute is a leap. The space attribute is a leap for space, and the time attribute is a leap for time. You can try to use the two attributes to support each other. The time attribute supports the space attribute, and the space attribute supports the time attribute. Supporting each other will speed up the compatibility of the two attributes. Qing Emperor said. Night Sorrow thanks Elder for your guidance. Night Sorrow bowed again. Haha. The key is that it's helpful to you. Qing Emperor said with a smile. Come. Elder, have a seat. Have a cup of tea. Night Sorrow invited Qing Emperor to sit down, and then poured a cup of tea for Qing Emperor. Not bad. You're quite experienced in making tea. Qing Emperor took a sip of tea and said. I'm not used to walking around. I've never seen Elder in Qing Wan Palace. Night Sorrow filled Qing Emperor's teacup again and said. Like you, I like peace and quiet. I don't usually go out. Today, I'm thinking of moving around. Qing Emperor sized up Night Sorrow. After drinking 2 cups of tea, Qing Emperor stood up and was about to leave. I'm an outsider in Qing Wan Palace. I don't know anyone or have any friends. If Elder has time, please come and visit. Night Sorrow stood up and said. Okay. Qing Emperor nodded. After leaving Leisure House, his body flickered and disappeared. In Qing Emperor's palace, Qing Emperor and Xian Daozi were playing chess, but then they shook their heads. Your Majesty, your state of mind is unstable. Is something wrong? Xian Daozi asked. I suddenly want to take in a disciple, but I haven't thought of how to deal with it yet. Qing Emperor put down the game in his hand and said. Chapter B plus Section 1, that's a good thing. Your Majesty has only taught Qing Lin, Qing Wan, and a few other princes for so many years. You can take in a disciple to relax your state of mind. Xian Daozi said. His hands were shaking. Big deal. This was a big deal for Qing Emperor's dynasty. Qing Emperor's disciple had a very high status in Qing Emperor's dynasty. His Majesty was equivalent to a prince or princess. A disciple was half a prince. But I'm worried that I won't be able to teach him. That child controls the dual elements of space and time. I've dabbled in space, but not time, Qing Emperor said. Night Sorrow? Perhaps you can't teach him time, but isn't your mastery in other areas what he needs? Fourth Watch. Chapter 11:20. I need to think about this carefully. It's very important to both him and me. The Qing Emperor shook his head. He admired Night Sorrow, but he didn't want to affect his development because Night Sorrow was doing very well. It is indeed very important, but a disciple with potential is not easy to find. The Red Emperor and the Dark Dominator both have excellent disciples, said Xian Daozi. Xian Daozi was the Qing Emperor's imperial divination master, and he was also a good friend of the Qing Emperor. He could say things that others didn't dare to say. Indeed, this emperor is inferior to them in this aspect. Sandalwood was not bad back then, but her state of mind was not good enough. One's state of mind and temperament have a great impact on a cultivator's final achievements. The Dark Dominator cultivates the Tao of Death, and it's enough for him to take in a disciple with a ruthless temperament. The Crimson Emperor is the same. It's easier for them to take in disciples, but it's harder for this emperor, who cultivates the Tao of Gentlemen, to take in disciples. You understand, Your Majesty, said Xian Daozi with a smile. I know some things. I have so many princes, but none of them can stand out. Isn't that strange? Qing Wan knows that he can't suppress him, and he doesn't dare to. The Qing Emperor shook his head. There were some things he didn't want to say. The Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty needed a strong crown prince. Xian Daozi didn't say anything else. The Qing Emperor was a smart person. Although he didn't ask much about the imperial dynasty, he knew everything. Night Sorrow is still rising. If I take Night Sorrow as a disciple, Qing Lin and the other princes will definitely suppress him. It's not good for his growth. I can't beat Qing Lin. After all, he's my crown prince. Let's wait. The Qing Emperor made his decision. Night Sorrow's life was very stable. He went to the Massacre God territory, and nothing happened. He returned to the leisure house. Lanning brought Bei Xing to the leisure house. Night Sorrow, although we haven't been apart for long, it feels like we haven't seen each other for a long time, Northstar said with a smile as he looked at Night Sorrow. I think you want your king's weapon. Come on. I happen to have some time, so I'll help you. Night Sorrow extended his hand to Northstar. All right. After Lanning told me, I brought the materials. Northstar took out the long sword and gave it to Night Sorrow, and handed a storage ring to Night Sorrow. Taking out the crafting furnace, Night Sorrow knocked on it and began to upgrade the Northstar's Clear Moon sword. In order for a Saint Ruler artifact to be upgraded to a King artifact, the first requirement was the materials, then the level of the spirit array inside the sword. The level of the spirit array was also the most important. For original edition, after entering the king's realm and increasing his soul power, Night Sorrow's clone in the Heaven Sealing Hall had been studying the spirit array, and his understanding of the spirit array was getting deeper and deeper. When Night Sorrow was upgrading Northstar's Clear Moon sword, the Qing Emperor came in wearing a plain robe. Night Sorrow asked Hong Yi to serve him tea. After apologizing, he continued to refine the Clear Moon sword. It took Night Sorrow a few days to upgrade all the materials and spirit array inside the Clear Moon sword. After signing, Night Sorrow waved the Clear Moon sword and handed it to Northstar. King's artifact, Thank you, Night Sorrow, Northstar said happily as he held the Clear Moon sword. I promised you that I could refine a king's artifact, so I will definitely help you upgrade your weapon and armor. Maybe you won't be able to use the full power of the clear moon sword now, but you will in the future, Knight Sorrow smiled. Then, Knight Sorrow bowed to the Qing Emperor and said, I'm sorry for neglecting you, Elder. It's nothing. Actually, there's another way to make weapons and armor. You're using the 1,000 Hammer 100 refinement technique. Have you ever thought of trying the 1,000 Hammer 100 refinement technique? Inscribe some spirit arrays with each stack. When you hammer again, be careful not to damage the spirit arrays. This way, after the 1,000 Hammer 100 refinement technique, the weapon or armor will be able to incorporate more spirit arrays. The space for the spirit arrays will also be larger, the Qing Emperor said as he looked at the clear moon sword in Northstar's hand. Taking a deep breath, Knight Sorrow bowed deeply to the Qing Emperor and said, Thank you, Elder, for teaching me. It's good that it's useful to you. Actually, cultivation, alchemy, and weapon forging are not the same path. Many times, cultivators often have a flaw and misconception, which is that they walk the same path until the end. This way, they might be able to walk to the extreme, but if they go too far, it will be a vertical thinking. In the future, try to think horizontally. Having an additional path to choose from may allow you to walk further, the Qing Emperor said as he looked at Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow fell into deep thought because the Qing Emperor's words had given him a lot of inspiration. Looking at the pondering Knight Sorrow, the Qing Emperor smiled and left. He was very happy that he had given Knight Sorrow some inspiration. After a while, Knight Sorrow woke up from his deep thoughts and asked, Where's that elder? He left. Knight Sorrow, who is this expert? Northstar asked. I don't know. Maybe he's an expert in the Qingyuan Palace. How can there be no experts around Princess Qingyuan? His insights and thoughts are very terrifying. His words are very simple, but they are the truth. With his guidance, I'll be able to take fewer detours, Knight Sorrow said. You're lucky. In fact, many experts will be interested in teaching you when they see someone like you. This is also karma. Because when you grow up, you'll remember the kindness of teaching you. This is karma, Northstar said. But they don't necessarily want to repay you. This is called love, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Then, Knight Sorrow helped Northstar upgrade the armor again. After listening to the Qing Emperor's guidance, Knight Sorrow's forging became much easier. It was also much easier because the space for carving and embedding formations had increased by a lot. After a few days, Knight Sorrow also finished upgrading Northstar's armor. Northstar was very happy. In fact, Knight Sorrow was also very happy because the Qing Emperor's guidance was very good. After Northstar's matter was finished, Knight Sorrow asked Lanning to send him back. He continued to study battle techniques. On this day, when Knight Sorrow was practicing battle techniques, the Qing Emperor came. I haven't seen Elder for a few days. Knight Sorrow misses Elder very much. I'm very grateful for Elder's guidance. How can I thank Elder? Wine? Good wine. Knight Sorrow smiled and greeted the Qing Emperor. Good. Let's drink. I haven't done this in a long time. Bring out the good wine. The Qing Emperor sat down and waved his hand. It's a bit awkward. I think this wine is good because it's from my hometown. It's brewed by my wife. I don't think Elder will like it. Knight Sorrow said embarrassedly. He knew that the elder in front of him was unfathomable. He must have a very high position in the Qingyuan Palace. He must have drunk all kinds of good wine. Bring it out. I'm not picky. Let's drink. The quality of the wine isn't that important. The mood is the key. The Qing Emperor raised his chin at Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow stood up and brought out 2 jars of azure blood wine. He then opened the jars and pushed them in front of the Qing Emperor. Pouring a bowl of wine, the Qing Emperor drank it in one gulp. You're talking nonsense. This wine is very good. Although it's not as delicate, it has a bit of wildness. Fine brewed wine is like a puddle of clear water. Your wine is like the wind. It has a wildness that Qing Emperor's imperial wine doesn't have. As long as Elder likes it. Knight Sorrow thanks Elder for teaching me. Knight Sorrow stood up and bowed to the Qing Emperor. Chapter 11:21. It's good that you can understand. Sometimes pointers are like playing the lute to a cow. You can understand everything. That's the point of pointers. The Qing Emperor shook his head. After drinking 2 jars of wine with Knight Sorrow, the Qing Emperor left. After returning to the Qing Emperor's palace, Xian Daozi poured a cup of tea for the Qing Emperor. Your Majesty, you drank? That's strange. I'm happy. I'm really happy. I've decided to find an opportunity to take him in as a disciple. The Qing Emperor took a sip of tea. Does he have a good temper? Xian Daozi asked. He has a good personality. At such a young age, he's already accomplished things that ordinary people can't. However, he's not impetuous at all. Cultivating the way of a gentleman requires a magnanimous spirit, breadth of mind, and personality. He has all of that. The Qing Emperor gave his evaluation of Knight Sorrow. Then we'll find a time to do it, Xian Daozi said with a smile. No, this needs to be properly arranged. If I only take in one disciple, he'll become a target for others. I'll announce later that I'm taking in a disciple and set up a few thresholds. Those who pass will become nominal disciples. After passing a few more tests, they'll become my legacy disciple. The Qing Emperor stroked his beard. All right. I'll pretend I don't know anything about this, Xian Daozi said with a smile. The Qing Emperor looked at Xian Daozi and said, then I'll leave it to you. Set up the thresholds. Oh, and go find out about Knight Sorrow's situation. If you make a mistake, don't worry, Your Majesty. I'll take care of this properly. The thresholds will block everyone, but not him. Yes, they'll block everyone, Xian Daozi said, bowing. He knew that the Qing Emperor was serious, so he had to do this properly. Otherwise, the Qing Emperor wouldn't give face to his old friend. There's no need to be too deliberate. Taking in a few nominal disciples isn't a big deal. Consider it a good karma, the Qing Emperor said. Good karma. If His Majesty's novitiate disciple is successful, then this is Knight Sorrow's good karma and good karma. Everything really is predestined. Xian Daozi chuckled and left. Could it be that this guy can really gather luck Dao? Qing Emperor tapped his fingers on the table and fell into deep thought. He knew that if it weren't for the appearance of Knight Sorrow, he wouldn't have the idea of accepting disciples. He planned to accept a few nominal disciples because of Knight Sorrow's influence. Then, a huge news spread throughout the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Even the world of reincarnation got the news. The Qing Emperor wanted to take in disciples. However, the threshold was very high. First of all, one's cultivation had to be at least king's, and one's age had to be less than 1,000 years old. Next, one had to be a heavenly adept artificer. These 3 requirements made many people feel bitter. If one didn't meet the requirements, it would be very difficult to become a king within 1,000 years old. There were many geniuses in the world of reincarnation, and some of them could meet the requirements. However, the Qing Emperor's requirement was not to become a king within 1,000 years old, but to become a heavenly adept artificer within 1,000 years old. Not to mention this, it was even more difficult. In addition, there were only 10 places. No matter how many people there were, the Qing Emperor would only choose 10 people based on merit. If there were less than 10 people who signed up, then all of them would stay. If there were more than 10 people, then there would be a cruel selection. Knight Sorrow also got the news, which made him very shocked. Knight Sorrow, this requirement is not a problem for you, right? Red Coat said excitedly. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and said, this requirement is very suitable for me. I also want to, but I have to tell my master that I want to join another sect. I have to ask for the permission of my master and the elders of the Medicine Valley. You're thinking too much. In the cultivation world, many people have different masters. You're not betraying the sect, Lanning said. I know, but it's still appropriate to report to my master. Knight Sorrow shook his head. He knew that Lanning was telling the truth, but it would be disrespectful if he did not tell Yu Yangyu. That's fine too. With the realm teleportation formation, it's convenient for you to travel back and forth. Red Coat knew that it was very difficult to change Knight Sorrow's mind. At this moment, in the Qingyuan Palace's main hall, Princess Qingyuan was twirling a teacup in her hand. Zhua Tingyan stood aside and said, Princess, this matter will have a great impact on the Qing Emperor's dynasty. It could even change the situation. That's right. In my father's eyes, there's no difference between a disciple and a child. There are some things that I haven't seen, but I know that back then, senior brother Sandalwood's position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty was far above all the other princes. Therefore, as long as the disciple's character and talent are passable, then it's hard to say what position he will have in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Princess Qingyuan said. Zhua Tingyun nodded. He was very clear about some things. Sandalwood back then was an example. Actually, my father might be taking in a disciple because of someone, Princess Qingyuan said. Princess Qingyuan had a high position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. This was related to the fact that she was loved by the Qing Emperor, but it was also related to her own abilities. After thinking about it, Princess Qingyuan had some ideas. Because last time, she felt that the Qing Emperor was interested in Knight Sorrow. Princess, just pretend that you don't know about this. His Majesty is a smart person. No one can go against his will. His will is the will of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Zhua Tingyan said. Your Majesty understands. This is not a bad thing. Maybe he cares about the Crown Prince and the other princes. Princess Qingyuan interlocked her fingers and stretched her waist. That was the truth. Qing Lin was also touched. Because once the Qing Emperor took in a disciple, it would be a big deal. Back then, when Sandalwood was still around, he was suppressed. After Sandalwood went crazy, he appeared and gradually rose to the top. After Knight Sorrow greeted Princess Qingyuan, he took the teleportation array and returned to the Sky Profound world. Then, he went to the Tianding Gate and arrived at Danding Peak. Seeing Knight Sorrow return, Yu Yangyu and the others were very happy. This was because they had not seen Knight Sorrow for a while. They also knew about Knight Sorrow's situation from the Tianding King. They knew that Knight Sorrow went to the world of Samsara for the 9 Firmament World Group. Master, it's like this. The Qing Emperor of the world of Samsara is taking in a disciple. I want to take a look. Knight Sorrow said to Yu Yangyu. This, you can do as you see fit. If you want to have high achievements, then you need the guidance of a great teacher. As your master, I really did not fulfill my responsibility. I can't block your path. Work hard. Yu Yangyu nodded to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow will always be Master's disciple. I will always be the disciple of the Medicine Valley. Knight Sorrow bowed to Yu Yangyu, Hua Yunpeng, and the others. Only, one original, one of them. He was all pirated carrot however, Hua Yunpeng and the Great Elder avoided it. Other than Yu Yangyu, they did not have the qualifications to receive Knight Sorrow's bow. He did not stay in the mysterious sky world, nor did he go to Chia City. Knight Sorrow returned to the Qingyuan Palace. He was now waiting for the registration date. On this day, when Yishang finished cultivating, the Azure the Arch arrived. Knight Sorrow poured a cup of tea for the Qing Emperor. Qing Emperor is taking in a disciple. Don't you have any thoughts? The Qing Emperor looked at Knight Sorrow and said. Yes, in fact, I really want to get guidance from the elders. Knight Sorrow looked at the Qing Emperor and said. The Qing Emperor had guided him twice. Knight Sorrow really benefited a lot. You won't be disappointed. Chapter 1122. You won't be disappointed. Qing Emperor nodded towards Knight Sorrow and then left Leisure House. Qing Emperor told Knight Sorrow that he wouldn't be disappointed. In fact, he wasn't disappointed in his heart either. The main reason was because of Knight Sorrow's attitude. Qing Emperor understood that Knight Sorrow knew that as long as he participated in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment, he would at least be a nominal disciple. However, Knight Sorrow was still very respectful towards him. He even said that as long as he asked, Knight Sorrow would accept his guidance. He even said that he wouldn't participate in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment ceremony. Knight Sorrow was a bit disappointed. He really hoped that Qing Emperor would be willing to continue guiding him. That way, he could give up on participating in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment ceremony. Soon after, under Hong Yi's reminder, Knight Sorrow went to Qing Emperor's palace to sign up and participate in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment ceremony. After signing up, Knight Sorrow stayed in Massacre God's territory for a few more days to observe the soldiers' cultivation. Now, Knight Sorrow wasn't only recognized by the large captains and captains, the ordinary soldiers also recognized Knight Sorrow. Everyone's combat ability increased by a lot. What did this mean? It meant that after entering the battlefield, their chances of survival increased by a lot. After staying in Massacre God's territory for a few more days, Knight Sorrow greeted Qin Leiting and Meng Dan before returning to Qing Yuan Palace. General, Vice Commander Knight is a bit over 100 years old. His cultivation is a 2-star king. I don't know if he is a weapon refiner. If he is, then he can definitely participate in His Majesty's disciple recruitment ceremony. Meng Dan looked at Knight Sorrow's figure leaving through the teleportation formation and said, "He is a king-level weapon refiner. This is recorded in the information Her Highness showed this general." Qin Leiting said. "Then will he still stay in our Thunder Army?" This subordinate admires him. "There are too few cultivators like him now." Meng Dan said. "He should. He shouldn't be someone who gives up halfway. I also don't want to let this guy go." Qin Leiting exhaled and said. Everyone in the Thunderbolt army knew that Thunderbolt Qin was an old-fashioned person. It was hard for him to approve of someone. However, once he approved of someone, he would treat that person seriously. Knight Sorrow stayed quietly in Leisure House, waiting for the Qing Emperor's apprenticeship ceremony to begin. Half a month later, the Qing Emperor's apprenticeship ceremony began. The venue was the Qing Emperor's palace square, and the host was Xian Daozi. Everyone in the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty knew that Xian Daozi was under the orders of the Qing Emperor. Many times, Xian Daozi was the one who arranged everything for the Qing Emperor. The Qing Emperor's recruitment of disciples was a big event. Not many people signed up, only a dozen or so. However, many people came to watch because they all wanted to know who could become the Qing Emperor's disciple. Even if it was just a nominal disciple, it could change one's fate. Knight Sorrow was among those who signed up. Everyone who signed up had to go through a test. Although many people's cultivations and ages could be seen at a glance, there were some secret techniques that could hide one's age. Xian Daozi seriously checked everyone who signed up. The Qing Emperor's disciple was very important, and it would have a great impact on the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty. If someone from the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty used a secret technique to break in, Xian Daozi would never be able to wash away this humiliation. Xian Daozi tested everyone. The oldest was 900 years old, and the youngest was Knight Sorrow, who was 120 years old. The one with the highest cultivation was the 900-year-old man, who was a level 3 king. After testing everyone's age and cultivation, Knight Sorrow and the others went to their designated seats. Next was the equipment refining test, and anyone who wasn't a Heavenly Master equipment refiner wouldn't be able to pass. Knight Sorrow had just sat down when he felt hostility. Turning his head, Knight Sorrow found that the 900-year-old level 3 king was staring at him with eyes full of hostility. Knight Sorrow smiled. He knew that this was hostility born of competition. He didn't think it was necessary at all. The Qing Emperor wasn't recruiting a disciple. What are you smiling about? You just got into the king's imperial dynasty ahead of time. Do you think that's enough? The man's eyes were full of a fierce murderous aura. Then you have the right to do so. Knight Sorrow was helpless against such hostile gazes and words. If you're not convinced, then let's fight. The black-clothed man stood up. The black-clothed man's name was Bonehead, and he came from Darkbone Mountain. He was the young master of Darkbone Mountain, a first-class force under the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty. When he came to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony, the Mountain Lord of Darkbone Mountain said that the Qing Emperor couldn't instruct all the in-named disciples wholeheartedly. Among all the in-named disciples, the Qing Emperor would only instruct the most outstanding ones. The youngest one was the biggest threat, so Bonehead saw Knight Sorrow as a rival. He even planned to kill Knight Sorrow if he had the chance. Knight Sorrow, don't look for trouble, but I'm not afraid of trouble. If you want to fight, then I'll fight with you. Knight Sorrow stood up. Okay, quiet down. Xian Daozi slammed the table in front of him. After making Bonehead and Knight Sorrow quiet down, Xian Daozi tapped the table with his finger, and the next round of the equipment refining test was carried out. After that, Knight Sorrow and a dozen other people began the equipment refining test. The materials were on the table in front of everyone. They were all beginner king grade materials. After the examination, the applicants had to use these limited materials to choose the most suitable one, and then refine a king grade weapon. As long as they succeeded, the refined weapon would belong to them. It was also a disguised reward. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment, and felt that he could refine a pair of boxing gloves. Ever since the Azure Claw gloves were destroyed, Knight Sorrow hadn't used boxing gloves. His hand skills were very profound, and he needed boxing gloves very much. After having an idea, Knight Sorrow began to forge. He used the 1,000-fold 100 refinement technique, and he was very familiar with it. Knight Sorrow had refined quite a few king-grade weapons, and he was very familiar with the carving of formations. There were no problems. Xian Daozi, who was watching from the main seat, nodded as he watched. He was also worried. If Knight Sorrow really had a problem refining, he wouldn't be able to explain it to the Qing Emperor. In fact, this disciple recruitment was prepared for Knight Sorrow alone. After Knight Sorrow finished refining, he engraved the word Shang on the claw gloves. Then, he placed the gloves on the table and took 2 steps back. The Qing Emperor, who was drinking tea in the Azure Sky Pavilion, nodded as he drank. Everything in the Qing Emperor's palace was within his scope of investigation, and he was very satisfied with Knight Sorrow's performance. Among the dozen or so people who participated in the refining, only Knight Sorrow was the calmest. His emotions were also very stable, so the quality of his weapon was also the highest. As for the conflict between Knight Sorrow and Bonehead, the Qing Emperor felt that Knight Sorrow had handled it very well. Everyone had a temper. If you endured being bullied, then it wasn't true. Not long after Knight Sorrow finished refining, Bonehead also finished refining and returned to his seat. His gaze was still on Knight Sorrow. He knew that Knight Sorrow definitely had a spot in the Qing Emperor's list of registered disciples. What he wanted to do now was to make Knight Sorrow lose face. Bonehead felt that if he made Knight Sorrow lose face before Knight Sorrow entered the Qing Emperor's eyes, then the Qing Emperor would no longer care about him. Soon, the time set by Xian Daozi was up. Only one person had successfully refined a weapon. At this time, Bonehead stood up and walked to the center of the field. He pointed at Knight Sorrow and said, "Very good. Let's fight and see who is the best." Chapter 11:23. What are you doing? You're very strong, but can you be invincible? Xian Daozi frowned at Bonehead. He was starting to get annoyed. He knew exactly what Bonehead was thinking. Knight Sorrow stood up, but didn't move. If he stepped up now, it would be the same as slapping Xian Daozi's face. "Senior, I feel that this is an opportunity to prove myself. No matter if it's me or him, we both need the opportunity. Lord Qing Emperor's disciple needs to be the most outstanding one," Bonehead said. Xian Daozi pointed a finger at Bonehead, his eyes filled with rage. He had already made things very clear. but Bonehead was still stubbornly clinging to his own course. Xian Daozi was considering whether or not he should be heavy-handed. "That's up to you," Xian Daozi said. "It's up to you whether or not you want to fight Night Sorrow. No one is going to force you to do anything. No one is going to think that someone who's been training for 900 years can defeat someone who's been training for 100 years. Originally, Xian Daozi wouldn't have made such a decision, but after receiving the Qing Emperor's message, the Qing Emperor felt that there was no need to stop this battle. Bonehead needed to make a name for himself because of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow didn't need that, but he couldn't lose his drive. Qing Emperor felt that if he kept stopping Bonehead, others would think that he was protecting Night Sorrow. Fight. If I don't fight, then everyone will think that I'm afraid. I don't want to prove anything. I just want to quietly do my own thing. But that's a bit difficult. Night Sorrow stood up and walked off the stage. Latest equals chapter. On the festival, come on. I'll let you see the difference between us. Bonehead waved the battle blade in his hand as he looked at Night Sorrow with an ominous glint in his eyes. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He just waved splitting sky. At this moment, Bonehead moved. His body leapt into the air, and he wielded his war blade with both hands as he swung it at Night Sorrow. As Bonehead made his move, Night Sorrow knew that his will of darkness was compatible with the will of light. It was a dual elemental will and dual elemental energy. Two completely different types of energy and will were compatible. Bonehead's talent was still very strong. Night Sorrow used Sky Splitter and used Heavenly Wasteland Ultimate Kill. He used the Will of Time to support time acceleration to block Bone's ferocious attack. Suppression. Night Sorrow's Will of Time completely suppressed Bonehead's Will of Darkness and Light. They were on completely different levels. When Night Sorrow fought with Crow Beetle, he was unable to suppress him because Crow Beetle's cultivation was much higher than his. However, it was different now. Bonehead's comprehension of will was about the same as Night Sorrow's. Naturally, his normal attributes would be suppressed by his higher attributes. The Bone Blade's energy had been affected by Night Sorrow's time acceleration. It had less than 70% left. When it slashed at Night Sorrow's space rend, Night Sorrow's arm didn't even move, let alone his body. After being melted by time acceleration, Bonehead's energy cultivation was about the same as Night Sorrow's. In addition, Night Sorrow's body was a 2-star king. How could Bonehead move? After that, Bonehead crazily slashed at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow stood in place and casually blocked with space rend. This made all of Bonehead's attacks ineffective. Night Sorrow didn't want to make things difficult for anyone. This was the Qing Emperor's disciple ceremony. If he attacked too aggressively and something went wrong, it would be equivalent to slapping the Qing Emperor's face. That was what he thought, but Bonehead didn't think so. When Bonehead saw that he couldn't break through Night Sorrow's defense, he changed his move. When Night Sorrow blocked the blade, another blade appeared in his left hand and stabbed towards Night Sorrow's chest. Night Sorrow's right hand didn't change Bonehead's blade, but his left hand punched towards Bonehead's second blade. Following an explosion, Bonehead was knocked back by Night Sorrow's punch. Night Sorrow's left and right hands had the same attack power, and he had even used concussion force, so Bonehead was knocked back. Gap. Is this the gap you were talking about? Night Sorrow swung space rend and looked at Bonehead. At this moment, countless spectators knew that Bonehead was no match for Night Sorrow. Moreover, there was a huge gap between them. However, Bonehead was furious. He swung his blade towards Night Sorrow again. I'm going to kill you. Then I'll show you the gap between us. Night Sorrow stood there without moving. A halo erupted from his body as he used Time Shock to protect himself. Bonehead's blade slashed at Night Sorrow's body. However, as Night Sorrow's energy shield kept vibrating, the energy on Bonehead's blade became weaker and weaker. After breaking through Night Sorrow's energy shield, Bonehead's blade landed on Night Sorrow's shoulder without even lifting his robes. Scram! Night Sorrow swung space rend and slapped the dumbfounded Bonehead's chest. As Bonehead's energy shield broke, the sound of bones breaking could be heard from his body. Night Sorrow's powerful attack sent Bonehead flying far away. He fell to the ground and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. I, Night Sorrow, have no intention of fighting for anything. However, no one can step on my shoulder. Night Sorrow swung Space Rend and returned to his seat. Hong Yi and Lan Ning kept clapping their hands. They were too excited at this moment. Night Sorrow's performance was too domineering and dazzling. Calm as still water, moving like wind and thunder. This was the portrayal of Night Sorrow's performance at this moment. Xian Daozi slammed his hand on the table, his face full of excitement. Shocking. Night Sorrow's performance had shocked him. What was this? This was a gentleman's anger. After Bonehead stood up, he quietly returned to his seat. At this moment, he had been awakened by Night Sorrow's attack. He could not just leave in a fit of anger. If he left, he would lose a great opportunity. The situation was not good now, but it did not mean that there was no chance at all. After Night Sorrow returned to his seat, he was very quiet, as if the person who had just fought had nothing to do with him. The Qing Emperor withdrew his soul power. The matter was settled. The people who passed in the end were all his disciples in name. As for who would be his personal disciple, that was his choice. Then Xian Daozi clasped his hands to the people who had come to watch the ceremony. Thank you everyone for coming to watch the ceremony. Those who pass are all His Majesty's disciples in name. As for the following arrangements, it is up to His Majesty. The ceremony ended. Night Sorrow and his people stayed in the Qing Emperor's palace because they had to wait for an audience with the Qing Emperor. Night Sorrow, you are now the Qing Emperor's disciple in name, Hong Yi said excitedly. If you can get the Qing Emperor's attention, you will most likely become his personal disciple. Then your status and position will rise. No, I plan to become the Qing Emperor's disciple. I'm not doing this for status or position, I'm doing this for my own strength. Status and position are not given to you by others. You have to fight for it with your own strength. Night Sorrow shook his head. Hong Yi's words made sense, but they were not in line with his philosophy. Young man, you are right. Your own strength is the most important thing. With strength, status and position will not be a problem. Xian Daozi arrived at Night Sorrow's residence. Night Sorrow greets Senior. Night Sorrow clasped his hands to Xian Daozi. No need to be so polite, young man, Xian Daozi said with a smile. If I politely said that this was luck, that would be blasphemy to my own efforts. Perhaps this is fate, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 1124. Well said, Xian Daozi said. No matter what, you have to respect yourself. Only by respecting yourself can you gain the respect of others. He nodded at Night Sorrow. He really liked Night Sorrow's philosophy. Yes, Night Sorrow said. It doesn't matter if you gain the respect of others. It's important to respect yourself. It's an attitude. Actually, I was the one who screwed you over, Xian Daozi said apologetically. It was I who reported the results of your divination to His Majesty. That's why the Blue Phoenix Princess came looking for you and forced you to do something against your will. Don't say that, Xian Daozi said. It's true that you helped me a lot. Even if the Qing Emperor's dynasty didn't come looking for me, the Red Emperor's kingdom would have. You know what kind of people they are, and I'm the one who's in trouble. It's a problem that can't be solved. Besides, I was able to become the Qing Emperor's disciple, an honorary disciple. This is also an opportunity. He really wanted to learn from Xian Daozi. Haha. In that case, I really did help you. I owe you a drink. Xian Daozi pointed at Night Sorrow, then left with a smile. Divination masters could foresee the workings of the heavens, so they believed in opportunities. He had never imagined that his divination would affect Night Sorrow so much. Xian Daozi returned to the Azure Sky Pavilion. Your Majesty, did I do a good job today? Xian Daozi sat down across from the Qing Emperor. Not bad, the Qing Emperor said. Just an honorary disciple. It's not like I'm taking in a lot of disciples. Bring them to see me tomorrow. After resting for a while, Xian Daozi brought Night Sorrow and the others to the Azure Sky Pavilion. After waiting for a while, the Qing Emperor appeared. He wore a black robe embroidered with mountain and river patterns, and a golden crown on his head. Greetings, Master. Bonehead and the others all knelt. Looking at Qing Emperor, Night Sorrow was stunned. He recognized that Qing Emperor was the elder who had given him pointers, but his attire was different today. At this moment, Bonehead and the others had finished kowtowing. Night Sorrow was still looking at Qing Emperor. What? Are you disappointed? Qing Emperor looked at Night Sorrow and said with a smile. I'm not disappointed. Actually, what I want the most is the guidance of an elder, not the Qing Emperor, Night Sorrow said, shaking his head. Then what are you waiting for? You haven't paid your respects to your master yet, Xian Daozi said. Night Sorrow stepped forward and knelt on one knee. He clasped his hands and bowed to Qing Emperor. You are being disrespectful to master. Bonehead growled. Emperor Qing stepped forward and helped Yishang up. A man, a gentleman, should have a clear conscience when he raises his head, and a clear conscience when he lowers his head. Master, I'm sorry. All these years, I've been insisting that I'm not inferior to anyone. I don't know why. I'm sorry, Night Sorrow said. Haha. Master understands. Master also came from the same stage as you. That's very good. From today onwards, you are my personal disciple, Qing Emperor said. Thank you, Master. I won't let you down. Night Sorrow bowed. What about you guys? I won't hide it from you. In fact, you are just accompanying the Crown Prince. I only want to accept one disciple, and that is Night Sorrow. You guys are lucky because of him, so don't be jealous. Don't reject him. Otherwise, I'll kick you out. Qing Emperor looked at Bonehead and the others. Protective. Unreasonable, very unreasonable. This was Qing Emperor. He didn't need to reason with anyone. His words were law. Anyone who disobeyed him would be destroyed. Bonehead and the others were taught a lesson by Qing Emperor. They couldn't be jealous at all. Jealousy was death. Take them away and make arrangements. I'll give them some pointers when I have time. As for what they can achieve, that's up to you. Actually, you have to walk your own path. The starting point doesn't determine your achievements, Qing Emperor said to Xian Daozi. Night Sorrow chatted with Qing Emperor for a while. Qing Emperor waved his hand and called someone over. It was an old man in black. The old man was tall and sturdy. He was dressed in black, but he wore a mask. Above the mask was a snow-white beard. Night Sorrow, this is Summer City. He's been with me for a long time. You can call him Uncle Summer. He'll follow you from now on. Summer City, you'll be in charge of Night Sorrow's affairs in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. You'll deal with things that cross the line, Qing Emperor said to the old man. I understand. Summer City bowed to Qing Emperor, then cupped his hands to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow greets Uncle Summer. Night Sorrow bowed in return. Bring him to 9-story tower. From now on, 9-story tower will be Night Sorrow's residence. Night Sorrow, you still have to be a soldier of the Green Phoenix Army. You still have to fight when you need to. What I need to do is to point out a path for you, not walk it for you. Qing Emperor said to Night Sorrow. I understand. Night Sorrow bowed to Qing Emperor. Take it and read it. Ask me if you don't understand. Qing Emperor took out 2 books and handed them to Night Sorrow. Then, under Summer City's lead, Night Sorrow brought Red Shirt and Blue Shadow to 9-story tower. 9-story tower was just a title. Its actual name was 9-story palace. The 9-story tower had a special status in the Azure Supreme the Arch Empire. It was the place where the Azure Supreme the Arch stayed when he was young. Later on, he left the 9-story tower and went to the Azure Supreme the Arch Palace to live in the Azure Sky Pavilion. 9-story palace had always been empty. No prince could stay there. If Night Sorrow does anything wrong or doesn't understand, please tell me, Uncle Summer, Night Sorrow said to Summer City when they arrived at 9-story palace. You're too kind, Your Highness. If there's anything you can't solve in the future, just tell me, Summer City said. Uncle Summer, don't call me that. Just call me Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow brewed a pot of heart-cleansing tea. No, in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, the Emperor's direct disciple is the prince. That was the case for Princess Sandalwood back then. The Emperor also mentioned this rule. In other words, you're the third prince of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Summer City said. Uncle Summer, don't call me that in the future. It doesn't matter if I'm a prince or not. I became the master's disciple because I want to learn more skills. I can't cause instability in the Qing Emperor's dynasty because of this meaningless title, Night Sorrow said to Summer City. I understand. I'll go arrange the guards and maids of 9-story palace now. Summer City bowed to Night Sorrow and left 9-story palace for Azure Sky Pavilion. In Azure Sky Pavilion, the Qing Emperor and Xian Daozi were playing chess. Has Night Sorrow settled down? Qing Emperor asked. They've settled down. Yi Shang and his 2 followers have already settled down, Xia Cheng said with a bow. Summer City, this is unruly. We're like brothers, but Night Sorrow is my direct disciple. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, he's a prince. I asked you to go because I was worried. Qing Emperor didn't let go of the Book of 7-story palace. He was the only genuine Book of 7-story palace. Your Majesty, it's not that I'm unruly. It's just that Your Highness doesn't allow it. Summer City bowed and said, You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.